Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
Jets-wise, Center Connor McGovern says that there's an awesome new energy around the Jets.
Did they buy some crystals and sage the training facility?
Let me know when they win.
Exactly. And Quentin Williams says that C.J. Mosley's return has been a breath of fresh air. He's slim and fit and looks amazing.
Oh, there you go.
Kiss of death right there.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, December the 29th, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Hello, gentlemen.
How the hell are you tonight?
Doing all right.
Yeah.
And this
Where my Jets at?
There you go. Yeah,
One more week.
One for a week, yeah.
You know, somebody's been pretty spot on in picking which games the Jets were going to win this year and what their final record's going to be.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that, and
I appreciate my pessimism when the season started for both the Jets and Giants. I call it realism, but you know.
Well, you called it realism, but you said that the Jets would go 4-13, which in all likelihood they will.
Yeah.
But you also said the Giants would go 7-10. So
did I go 7? I thought I was 6, and I thought I was I overshot the Giants. Everybody did
a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of 7-win teams, I have a very interesting question when we get into the NFL talk. So
sure.
All right.
I'll hang on to it until then.
All right.
I find it interesting.
I'm hanging on with bated breath.
Bated breath. Once again, yes, well, we should, right? Exactly. Harry, did you want to mention that one thing at the top of the show and the bottom of the show, or?
Let's mention it now. Sure.
Mention it right up.
This way, the 4 people that leave right after we start talking about which third-string Mets shortstop we should bring up.
They'll get it now. Here, I'll throw it up.
Look at that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Lug. Saturday, January 8th. And if you're in Denver, the old HQ, which is the old Three Kings at 60 South Broadway, we're actually playing one of our first big headlining shows in a long time. Hopefully we could see you there. There's a link. You could follow us on Instagram at Lognoise, Lognoise. You can buy tickets directly from us, or there's a link here to buy tickets online through the venue. So January 8th, we're playing with our friends Anana Monkey and Big Lid.
There you go.
And I urge you all to come out and have a good time.
And invite,
There's my shameless plug.
There you go. Invite Barbara from accounting, right?
Barbara from accounting didn't show up to the last show, so yeah, there's a good chance she might come here. Barbara from accounting, you know, Linda from HR, she never comes.
She never shows up.
Yeah, Lenny, the guy from the gas station, always says he's going to come, but he never does. But
he's usually outside though. He doesn't.
Yes, but the woman Carol at Walgreens said she's going to come, so
that's good. Cool.
Yeah.
Carol will be there. There's a plus.
There's a plus.
So hang out with Carol.
That's right.
There you go.
Better get some extra Jaeger if Carol shows up.
Absolutely.
Well, you never know.
That's what I heard. I don't.
She says she wants to be part of the petting zoo, so we're saving her a chicken costume.
There you go. Perfect.
Nice.
Gotta love it. All right. We'll put the link up for the tickets from HQ on the Facebook page too, so you can go there and get it if you are so interested in seeing Log on Saturday, January 8th. That would be a week from the Saturday, correct?
That is correct.
All right, there you go. Seeing as this Saturday is the first. So this is the actual last show of 2021 that we're doing.
Are we doing this in 2022?
Yeah, we're done. This is it. Tonight's it. We're wrapping it up.
We're doing like a Unis Annis type of thing.
Yeah, very much.
One season.
We're going to do 13 months, and then that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
So,
this is the bonus episode.
Sure. There you go. No. We'll be back next week in 2022 with more annoying yelling at the Jets and Giants and Mets and Yankees
next
and every
year,
other team in the
extra
NFL
hockey
and
talk,
MLB.
though.
Extra hockey talk in 2022.
God, please now.
One of my New Year's resolutions.
There you go. Gotta love it. All right. Well, a couple things to kick it off. I got to say this one thing. There's been a lot of talk. Really quick. Just I'm not even going to put the background up for MLB because we'll take maybe 5 minutes of it. That's it. There's been a lot of talk
he
for.
Said hopefully.
Well, hopefully. He says very hopefully. Chris Bryant, going to the Mets, and I'm a big proponent of that. And I hope they actually go out and get him. But somebody did actually post. I saw it today on one of the groups. If you look at most, not all, but most of the important numbers, if you will, between Chris Bryant and Jeff McNeil, they're pretty equal. Overall, they're pretty equal numbers between Chris Bryant and Jeff McNeil. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense. If that is indeed the case, does it make sense to go out and get Chris Bryant when you already have Jeff McNeil? So, although Chris Bryant can play, I don't know, what's that? Oh, third base. That's right. Jeff McNeil can't. So, that's one thing. So, well, I guess he can play, but it's not going to be, these are the numbers you look at, right? The numbers are all the stats. They're not showing you defensive numbers. They're showing you offensive numbers.
Well, would you potentially have both of them in the lineup?
Well, you would, right? You'd have my whole thing would be have Jeff McNeil because everybody wants to run Jeff McNeil out. I don't know why. He had one bad season, Put him in left field and Chris Bryant at third. Depends if you can get him whatever you can get him for. But that's just my.
Chris Bryant could play multiple positions, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Suddenly it seems like the Mets have almost knock wood, a bevy of outfielders now, right?
Right. They do.
They signed a couple guys, and they've got these other guys who play, like, if Bryant comes and you got him and McNeil can both play the outfield.
Right.
McNeil is certainly, probably Bryant more career games in the outfield than the infield.
Yeah.
I'd venture that's true, but I don't know how much. That's certainly true for McNeil.
Sure.
That's certainly true with his stint with the Mets. His first year, he played more outfield than anywhere else.
Right.
So, but there's nothing wrong with having 5 or 6 guys who can play in the outfield. Of course, you don't necessarily want 2 of them to be in the infield every day.
No.
And then later in the season, maybe because of whatever, injuries, knock, be pressed into outfield service. So the more the merrier. I'd like to have them both.
Well, McNeil seems to be the Mets version of Luke Voigt.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it. It's like I unless there's some inside information that I don't know about Voigt and how serious his injuries were this past year. The Yankees, are just kind of loading up on. They've got 3 first basemen now,
right.
And talks of going out and getting another one. So the McNeil thing it's interesting. It's not like they're looking to trade him. It's not like they're looking to get rid of him. So if they're going to get Chris Bryant, you can't really bench McNeil. I mean, he's too good a player, I think, over the course of his career. Maybe platoon him, maybe give him some rest during the season. But I think you would still have both of them in the lineup. And I think Chris Bryant adds to the Mets lineup overall with McNeil in there as well. If he could play third base. So it depends on how much you got to pay him. I don't think he's worth as much as some people are saying he is.
Yeah. That's the biggest kicker right there. That's the biggest question right there is how much you're going to have to pay him to get him to come here. So at that point, you already have what you have. So,
but this could be maybe this is already Buck Showalter's influence. Maybe he knows something. Maybe there's something about his leadership and his brand of veteran experience that the Mets want. And that is an intangible that doesn't show up in the box score.
This is true too.
And I would also say, what is your next best option
right
at third base if you're the Mets?
Right.
You're
going to pay probably more for a better option at third base. You might get somebody defensively that's better than what you're currently dealing with.
You got a couple rookies, not rookies. You got a couple minor leaguers that are highly touted that are coming up. Not this year, probably next year, but soon enough. So,
so if you sign Bryant to a 1-year or 2-year contract, or one with an option,
give him his money for 2 years.
Yeah,
give him what he wants for 2 years.
Third,
I think you could do far. Put it this way: it's better than the current lineup projection, and you could do far worse. And I think any other third baseman that is going to be, have better consistency there. You're going to pay a lot more than what you're going to pay Chris Bryant, unless you can find somebody that's under the radar that's had a really good improvement last year and is going to continue that way. But there's no way of knowing that.
True.
Yeah, certainly you need to shore up your defense at third base.
I completely agree.
I think Bryant does that.
That's what I mean. Without putting Jeff McNeil over there, or who's probably a better third baseman than anyone else you've got on the team right now.
Right.
Because look, hitting comes and goes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're an all-time great hitter, unless you're, Miggy or somebody like that who just is so good year after year after year, that comes and goes. So at least get somebody good with good defense on third.
Exactly.
Right.
On that note, too.
Sorry, Chris Davis.
On that note, too, one of the other things that's a pressing issue for the Mets is everybody says they need another arm, and I agree. They need another arm.
They do.
In the rotation.
Everybody needs another arm. Every team in Major League Baseball needs another arm.
Okay, well, let me throw this name out. What about Greinke?
Well, I mean, sure. But, I mean, do you really think he's going to leave the situation that he's in right now?
Nah, it depends. I mean, what's the outlook for Houston, versus what the upside of the Mets is?
Houston has proven year after year that they're going to be right in the mix of things. And I still think Houston right now, even with the additions that the Mets made, if they keep Greinke especially, are probably still a better team. Probably have a tougher road to winning their division. I think the Mets maybe, especially if the Braves drop off a little bit, might have an easier road in their division. But Greinke would be an amazing acquisition. But at what cost?
Right.
How old is Greinke now? 38, 39?
75.
He's not that old. I mean, but he's still probably, I think he's 37, 38, 39, somewhere in that range.
Maybe he's 37. He's the same age as Scherzer, so.
Yeah.
The only thing let's see, who's Verlander.
I think
re-signed with Houston, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's the big dog. Which is Greinke the number 2, I guess, or
no?
Oh yeah, I mean Greinke's been there now he is. I mean Greinke's been there since what? 19? I don't think he was even there in 8. He wasn't there when they won it, was he?
Greinke was not. No, Greinke was in. Greinke was in Arizona when
he came afterwards.
Yeah, he went from LA to Arizona to Houston.
Well, the only thing I could say on it, I don't know how much of an issue this would be, is he's had some anxiety issues in the past, and I assume he's dealt with those or whatever. So someone would say, well, then don't come to New York, if you don't want to be in the spotlight as much or anything.
If he's going to be anxious.
Yeah, but if he comes to New York, there's 2 really big dogs ahead of him.
Yeah.
And he has to play number 3. If that, I don't know if that's even an issue for him anymore, but I do know earlier in his career, he had some issues and was seeking help for them, which I assume he's gotten, but might not even be an issue today.
Right.
But that might be something, good team with the Mets, could be going places.
I mean,
all he has to do is come and be a number 3 pitcher behind.
Right.
Him,
But he is on that same kind of trajectory where you gotta be careful with innings and longevity with him. I mean, he was 18-5 with a 2.93 ERA and almost 210 innings in 2019. In 20, he only had 12 starts. Of course, that year he was 3-3 for the first time in a long time. His ERA was over 4. And last year he was 11-6 with a 4.16 ERA, 30 starts or 29 starts.
Yeah.
So I'll take 11-6 from my third.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He could just come
absolutely.
And, be solid. And look, if he's gonna give you longevity, right? You want to replace at least some of Stroman's innings, right? He pitched a lot of innings.
Right.
So if he can give you that close to 200 innings, somewhere around there, or those, give you those 27 to 30 starts or whatever. And again, just kind of come be the anonymous number 3,
Right.
That might be appealing to him.
It could be. All right. Well, we'll see how that all plays out. It's all speculation at this point for both of them, actually. But
I think you could get 5 innings out of him on a good day these days. I mean,
But that goes for any pitcher, though.
That goes for any pitcher, and if I'm more excited about getting Greinke or Chris Bryant, Greinke.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Chris Bryant, it will probably have a bigger impact in your day to day. I think the Mets have enough bats. You can make up for. You can find a decent defensive third baseman if they need money and they need to, which it sounds like they don't. They could probably go out and get both.
They at this point, obviously, you know, from the talk that's gone on from where everything looks like it's at right now, they can just go out and get both of them if they want.
Yeah,
that was my initial reaction. Why not both?
Why not both? Yeah, Chris Bryant is all money though. I mean, like what's it going to cost to get? I mean, we'll see. But
and what's it going to cost? I mean, even a 38-year-old arm.
Right.
That's wasn't he a
Cy Young winner?
Right? Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been over 10 years since he won the Cy Young.
Right.
But he was an all-star 2 years ago.
He was.
Yeah. So, and he won almost 20 games 2 years ago. So look, if you can get 10 wins out of him in the third spot, and he keeps you in a bunch of other games where he doesn't record a win, and maybe the team's record over those 30 starts is 20-10.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Go for it.
Exactly. All right. One other thing too on the Mets, I just want to bring up, and we'll move on. I got a question about the Yankees, and we'll go to football. I don't know if you saw the report. Donovan Mitchell, your favorite Jazz player. He's a huge.
He wants
Mets,
to be a Met.
Well, he's a huge Mets fan. Huge Mets fan. You know why? His father works for the Mets and has worked for the Mets since 1999. So between coaching and director of personnel and stuff like that. Anyway, he's a huge Mets fan. He was asked the other day what his prediction was for the Mets season next year.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
So
he said the Mets were going to go 162-0. That's what he said. So,
yeah. That's why he's a basketball player.
That's why he plays basketball. There you go. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right.
Also, he'll be putting out his first mock NFL draft next week.
He'll be doing it next week. Yeah, he's working on it already. We're gonna have it on the show.
Mel Kiper to the punch.
Exactly.
Probably be a decent third baseman. Although I think it'd be more. Yeah, he would probably. He's one of those athletes who could probably play almost any sport if he wanted to. But yeah. Sure. I think seeing Rudy Gobert play third base, though, would be a lot more interesting.
There you go. That would be interesting.
Imagine it has to be a backstop, though, right?
Yeah, you could just wear gloves on both hands and cover third and shortstop.
Let's see, Giannis plays short, is what I want to say.
Right. They'll just be swatting balls down and giving the Mutombo finger.
You won't have to throw to first. He'll just pick up the ball from deep in the hole. 4 steps and he'll step on the bag before the runner gets there.
Exactly.
By the way, am I the first person to officially call that the Mutombo finger?
I think so.
Italian grandmothers have been using that since the early 1900s.
But
I don't know why it's the Mutombo.
It's the Mutombo finger. Yeah.
I guess he deserves it, though.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's good.
He deserves something.
Sure.
He averaged more blocks than points.
This is true. He averaged more blocks than the Giants' offensive line last weekend.
There you go.
All right.
Hey now. We'll be here all week. Welcome to the Catskills.
Anyway.
John's going to be the opener for the next big log show.
That's right.
I will be there. So, anyway, one question for you, Harry.
Yes.
Will the Yankees get Correa? Yes or no? Flat out.
My gut tells me no right now.
Okay.
There's something going on with the Yankees, and look, there's not a lot going on right now because they can't because of this lockout. But I don't think the Yankees are going to get Correa. I really don't. No. I think would I like to see them get him? Sure. The guy I really wanted though is not an option anymore because he's on the Texas Rangers. Would I be more excited if the Yankees were able to go out and get a top arm in a trade? Yes, absolutely.
However,
I think you ask an interesting question though, because I think this is going to determine where the Yankees really are in their front office. If they are able to go out and get one of these, at least one of the top 5, 6, because you got to say Correa is what in the top 3, 4 of free agents that were available, right. At least top 5, right? Correa brings a lot to the table. What he's going to demand money-wise, I'm actually on the bubble as to whether or not he's worth it. Only because I feel like the Yankees have been somewhat cursed with the big-name acquisitions that they've made lately. And they haven't made a lot. But the ones they've made, the verdict is still out on them. I think Giancarlo Stanton could show up next year if the Yankees make the postseason and turn into an A-Rod and have one great year and become a hero. But so far, I think he hasn't lived up to what they're paying him. Garrett Cole, we'll see how much of his game is really reliant on dipping his finger in some goop. Has he lived up to Yankee? If we're gonna get the top free agent and pay you oodles of money, then we can't have another Jacoby Ellsbury situation. You need to perform.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
I'd much rather see the Yankees get 3 or 4 people, let the cards fall where they weigh and really stack up with pitchers than just get Correa and then have the same starting rotation that they currently have. Because I don't think that gets them through the American League East this year, and I certainly don't think it gets them through a playoff series.
Okay. Well, makes sense. And we talked about that last week on the show too, with the track record of big name, big ticket free agent signings that they've had lately. So anyway,
I'll just say this though: if you, that's all I want to say.
there you go.
If you don't make a lot of those signings, then you have a harder time hitting. In other words, I don't know if the Yankees' track record is that much worse than most other teams' track record.
No. But the Yankees have been attracted to sluggers, all or nothing, guys with low on base percentage, guys with high home runs, guys with whose OBS is high, but that's not going to win you. It doesn't win you championships. It doesn't. The Yankees have a lot of those guys. And the Yankees need guys to get on base. They need guys who can play their position and get on base.
Yep.
And they have enough people to do what they're already doing. You have the whole middle of their lineup are all or nothing guys.
Yeah.
From Rizzo to Voit to Judge to Stanton. And Judge, there's an asterisk there.
Yeah.
To Sanchez,
but is that going to continue with Judges?
Right. They're all the same, and they need more DJ LeMahieu type players. They need the Corey Seagers. They need if you look at those Dodgers, the Bellingers, they need those guys who can hit. Yes, they're going to hit for power, but they also need them to come through clutch when it's necessary, and they need those throughout the lineup.
Right.
And they also need some pitching. They have a questionable ace, and that's it.
But do you trust this front office to make what you're talking about now is a number of good decisions?
My take
you're talking about a handful of guys now, right? That they're going to have to. That's 4 or 5 or at least 3 that you've got to get right in order to really have an impact being made. And I don't know. Is this front office have enough of a track record recently? No. To have confidence that they're going to bring in the right guys.
I think what you're saying is there's 2 questions there. One is, do they have what it takes to even make a bad decision or a questionable decision and get a big name free agent? And 2, do they have if they're able to do that, are they able to get the right one?
Right.
And here's my take on Carlos Correa. I would argue that there's maybe 8 or 9 shortstops that are better than him, or at least as good as him in baseball right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tatis isn't going anywhere. He signed along. I think Bogarts in Boston is better. Obviously, Lindor had a bad year last year, but maybe the best out of all of them is Trey Turner. Bo Bichette, Javi Baez in Chicago. Tim Anderson with the White Sox. Trevor Story had a down year last year. Would I be disappointed if the Yankees got Trevor Story? If they can pay, if they can, I think the Yankees are in a position that the Mets are not. I don't think the Yankees have unlimited means anymore. I think they are being very cautious in what they spend on big contracts. So if it means Trevor Story on a shorter contract and another arm over Carlos Correa, that's better for the Yankees.
Right.
That's my point in all of it.
Well, listen,
but they need a shortstop. They need a shortstop.
If the Yankees want, The coin is available to help them with their decisions.
Yeah.
Well, if it comes down to, there's three sides of the coin. The Yankees will probably, pick
It will
one or
land
two.
on the edge.
It'll land on the edge. Pete, why don't you flip the coin and just see heads they get Correa, tails they don't.
All
Let's
right.
see what the coin says.
Let's see what the old Mr. Washington says. He says heads.
They get Correa.
There you go. Carlos Correa will be in New York.
Look, I'm not going to be upset if they get Carlos Correa. I think he's a good player. I just think that they need to finalize. I would love to see the Yankees have a lineup that's consistent this year, and that is something that Aaron Boone just has not done. And if that means getting rid of, if that means having, Voit as a DH and getting rid of Rizzo and not having to, you're stuck with Joey Gallo for another year.
Right.
So I'm all right. Put DJ LeMahieu at first base, put Torres, who they won't give up on at second. You got Carlos Correa at shortstop and Gio Gio Urshela at third base. That's a pretty, it's not the best defensive. Two fourths of it are really good defensively. The other one doesn't know what position he wants to play. And, Urshela, I think, has in the past been a great defensive third baseman. You got two guys coming off really bad down years, and you got another guy who's coming off a year where he led the league in batting and had a down year. So
there you go.
Yeah, you got to figure at least one of those two is going to have a better year.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Although I would say if you bring in Correa, I don't know, does that almost make the rest of your decision making more difficult? Because now you've got a big chunk of money going to one place, as opposed to, well, we've got all this we can spread between.
If they were the Yankees of the past, they would be able to
They would have brought in everybody.
They would be able to get a Correa or a Trevor Story and get another arm. That's what they need.
Right.
They're not giving up on Gary Sanchez. I'd much rather, they're not giving up on Gleyber Torres. So we're stuck with those two. The verdict is going to be the outfield is going to be questionable. Joey Gallo might have to play center some of the time. One of the guys that I think Yankee fans forget about, who has the potential, even though he's had some setbacks in spring training or at least winter. If Aaron Hicks returns to 75% of what Aaron Hicks was a few years ago, Yankees have a top 10 center fielder.
Right.
So we'll see. Their outfield is a bunch of power forwards playing the outfield. It's when you got Stanton and Judge out there, and they're going to have to play. They're going to have to play the outfield because they have too many other guys who need to fill that DH spot.
Got you. All right. Well, we will see how that all shakes out as we move into 2022. Depending, obviously, how long the lockout lasts, what might dictate how fast moves get made prior to or during spring training as well. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Oh, hey, I want to ask you one quick question.
Go for it.
About baseball. I don't know if you guys saw the story about Babe Ruth and did he hit 715 home runs and how that would change the history of Hank Aaron and all that jazz.
Right.
I don't know if you saw that story, but
I didn't know.
So the basic premise was that I guess at one point they wanted to he hit a walk-off, which was considered a single or maybe a triple because when the guy in front of him crossed the plate, the game was over, right? We talk about what's his name for the Mets? Third baseman. The walk-off single.
What?
Come on, John.
How long ago?
Best infield ever, third baseman.
Oh, Robin Ventura.
Yeah, thank you. Right. So at one point, I guess the rules committee said, okay, we're going to go retroactively. We're going to go retroactively, and anybody who got a walk-off that was a home run is going to be credited with a home run, and therefore maybe Babe Ruth hit 715 home runs because he got one of them that wasn't credited that way and this and that. So they ended up reversing themselves. But, I mean, this was also at a time when, like, if the ball bounced on the field and then went into the stands, it was a home run for some of these. That was kind of like where they cut off. They separated, modern baseball from.
Right. Yeah.
But I just I wanted to get your guys' thoughts about is that something that I think the story lists like 37 or 38 instances where they went back and said, okay, these are actually home runs. And again, of course, in this case, it carries a lot more weight than any of the other 36 because Al Downing would no longer be the guy who gave up the 715 to Hank Aaron to break the record, because it would be 716 and all that jazz. So I just wanted to get your thoughts. Is like,
Interesting.
good idea to kind of go back, at least in the modern era, and say, well, he hit a home, he hit not the ones that bounced over the fence. He hit a home run, he hit it out of the park, but he didn't get credit for it. So I don't know. But then
was that the only one though? Was that the only walk-off he had that he didn't get credit for?
Well, yes.
Okay.
Yes. There were two, like I said, there were two that bounced and then went into the stands. Right. So the flip side of the argument is, well, you got to take away those two. If you're going to go back and retroactively.
Now he's got 713.
Now he's got 713. Yeah. So, but I just but I think that's where they made a distinction between, the bouncing over the fence rule and the fact that this one actually went out and left the yard,
right,
and he was not credited with a home run. So is that a good? I mean, it's an interesting debate, but not something we want to do, right? We want to go back and
I don't think that's because
stuff.
All right, then let me ask you this: were there any? All right, so
how many home runs were missed?
Right. Were there any? Well, I was going to say like Hank Aaron. Did he have any walk-offs that weren't counted?
That's a good question.
Because then you could do the same thing there.
Well, it says here, before 1920, various leagues played under their own rules, and games that ended with the home team winning in the ninth inning or later, a walk-off, were over as soon as the decisive run crossed the plate, like we talked about.
Right.
So, yeah, Aaron might have had some of those too. See, that's the thing. Once you go down the rabbit hole, you have to go back and look at every player, and Now, some cases it's good. Like I think they've done this with the sacks, right, in the NFL, and we now know that this guy ended up with he's like third on the sack list, even though half of them weren't counted as sacks because it didn't exist as a statistic from most of his career or whatever. So
LT's first year. He didn't have sacks counted.
Exactly. So it's I mean not that anybody's really calling to go back and change this, but I don't know, you might also say it's kind of a flaw in the rules to begin with. If a guy hits it out, it's a home run, right? You shouldn't win the game shouldn't, if it's a walk-off, the game should officially be a 2-run win victory instead of a 1-run.
Right. You just keep going until exactly. Except for what you said, like Robin Ventura, because he didn't cross the plate.
Right. He never. Right. Well, he couldn't.
He couldn't. Yeah, he's kind of being mauled, but that's besides the point.
But of course, if he had changed the rule, then that would probably not happen, right?
That would not happen. Exactly.
Everyone would be doing Altuve. Don't touch my shirt.
Yeah, leave me.
Let me get to the plate. I want this run.
Exactly. Anyway,
Harry, any thoughts on this?
Something to think about, though.
No.
All right.
I mean, I think it's. I think we leave the past where it's at. One of the things that I was just looking up while you guys were talking. I was looking up the all-time home run leaders. I mean, I knew who number 1 through 3 was. I didn't realize Alex Rodriguez finished his career 18 home runs away from Babe Ruth.
Yep.
18. I did not realize that.
18?
Yeah.
Really?
I thought it was 15.
696 to 714.
Oh, 696. I thought it was 6. For some reason, I thought it was 699.
No.
I think he got 690. I thought he had 699.
That's
so
crazy.
my bad. So 18. Yeah, right. 18. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you're right. A-Rod finished 18 away from Babe Ruth. You're absolutely right.
I mean, I don't really think. I mean, I don't think it changes things dramatically. But yeah, it would be nice if the rules were.
I think
made some more sense.
I think Harry hit it on the head, though. You got. I mean, the past is the past. Here, when they did it, that's the way it was.
Right. Yeah. That was one of the arguments in the debate was, well, that's the way the game was, and you can't go back and retroactively change all of it.
So I mean, you could come up with any new rule, and if you apply it to 100 years ago, you're going to change a lot of things.
Yeah, like those guys in the NFL, I don't think they're officially credited.
They're not going to be officially
with those sacks, right?
It's just
unofficial.
It's all.
It's unofficial.
Yeah.
They do have they have asterisks next to it. Look, I think those particulars change the outcome of the home run totals far less than the actual change in the game itself.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting.
But it is interesting.
It is very interesting.
Yeah, because again, to me, the most interesting part was. Let me see if I can find the. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but shoot. Well, just the most interesting part was how Aaron breaking the record
Would have
then
happened.
becomes changed. Because it's the next night and it's not
Right.
Um,
In other words, Ruth would have had at least one more home run, and Aaron would have had to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Aaron's record would have come on April 11th, 3 days later than 7:15. It wouldn't have been off of Downing. Would have been off of Charlie Huff, and rather than a game-tying 2-run homer, it would have been a go-ahead solo shot in the 7th inning.
Right.
Instead of So to me, that's kind of just to see how that would have. I don't think it would have necessarily changed the outcome of either game, but
it's.
But
cool.
that moment in history would have been
right.
Completely different.
You can't change it. I mean, what are you going to go back and you can't do that. It is what it is. It's the past is the past. It did what they did then. You can, like I said, if they institute a new rule in baseball today and then you go back and apply it to 100 years ago, you're going to change a ton of things. So you can't.
Although if you're Al Downing and that happens, you immediately go out and get a shirt that says, "It wasn't me."
It wasn't me. Right. Exactly. There you go.
With a picture of Hank Aaron hitting the ball off Charlie Huff.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I would bet you that not all of Babe Ruth's home runs were counted. I mean, somewhere along the line at that point with those old guys, they probably maybe there was one or two that they got credit for, but somewhere along the line there's at least a handful that just didn't get counted.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking
it
about
had to occur.
We're talking about the late 1910s. So,
right.
What is the Nelson's line from The Simpsons? Records from that era are spotty at best.
Yes,
I mean they were kept, but it's sort of like is it a hit or it's an error, right? Well, what park are you playing in, right? It's the scorer's judgment. So,
right.
Some of those home runs might not have been home runs. Right. If they were not a Babe Ruth fan, and some of them might have ended up home runs that maybe didn't belong there if they were a Babe Ruth fan.
There you go. All right.
All right. Well, that got us to 38 minutes.
That got us to 38 minutes. There you go. All right.
Not bad. 10 minutes of baseball.
There you go. Well, I did say 5, so next time I'll say 1, so it'll be a little bit shorter. Yeah.
It'll be 32 or
Minutes,
29.
right. All right. So let's move on to some football. We'll start off with the quiz as always. All right. Tonight, tight ends from 1980 to 2000. 20 years. Tight ends.
Is this like do you have like 2 random generator things? One picks a position and one picks an era, and you just like spin them both.
Right?
Tight ends from the 1980s.
There you go. Right. Now it's just going through and knowing what was what, but yeah. I mean, I got to be honest with you. When I go back to like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, I get a little help.
Everybody was a tight end back then.
But everybody was a tight end back then. So, all right. So you're gonna keep 4. Keep 4. Fourth stay. You got to get rid of 2. Tight ends 1980 through 2000. Here we go. Write them down. Here we go. Todd Christensen. Ozzie Newsome.
Ooh. The pride of Cleveland.
There you go. Mark Bavaro.
Okay.
Shannon Sharp. Jay Novacek. And Tony Gonzalez. Granted, he was the tail end of the 90s, but I threw him in there for a reason. So once again, Todd Christensen, Ozzie Newsome, Mark Bavaro, Shannon Sharp, Jay Novacek, and Tony Gonzalez. Pete, you going first?
Yeah, well, Bavaro's gone.
Gosh, I'm shocked.
You said it last week, Harry. It's a gut reaction explosion.
The quietest, most toughest tight end of all time. He's immediately gone.
Out.
Just because he played for the Giants.
There you go.
Yeah. There was no debate over like him or Sharp or Newsom. Oh, Bavaro, I wrote B-A-V, and then I crossed it out. I didn't even write his whole name down.
Yeah.
All right.
And Jay Novacek's got to stay because he's
obviously
for the Cowboys.
Novacek and Gonzo and Christensen are staying.
All right. So, I
loved me some old school silver and black.
Yeah, of course.
And
by the way, this may change your mind, but in the year 1979, Todd Christensen was a Giant. Just want to throw it out there, too.
Yeah, but he didn't really do anything with the Giants. Didn't lead the league in catches as a Giant.
Phil Simms threw him a couple of passes, because it was his rookie year. So
I don't think he had. I can't honestly say. I have no idea what his actual stats are, other than that one. Probably didn't have the consistency or longevity, but I don't know. But I liked him.
Is that right?
Man, Sharp or Newsom? Newsom was pretty good. He's still an exec with the Browns?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty sure, anyway.
Yeah, I'll take Ozzie.
All right.
I love Shannon Sharp, but I know a lot of people don't like him because he's got a mouth or blah, blah, blah. But
so you're getting rid of...
I'll keep on. Yeah, sorry, Shannon. You and Bavaro, you're on the practice squad.
All right. Harry?
Dominating the practice squad defensive back.
I already marked down that you're keeping Bavaro, so...
Well, I mean, Bavaro is sort of probably he's on the bubble on this list. I mean, Bavaro was a great Giant, but we're talking... Gonzalez and Shannon Sharp are two of the best tight ends of all time. Gonzalez probably, arguably, the best. Yeah. Novacek's gone. He just bubble. The real question here is Todd Christensen had a pretty good year. Ozzie Newsome actually had less Pro Bowls, but had more receptions. And Bavaro's numbers are just not near what either of them are. Mm-hmm. But as an overall tight end, you need at least one of them to be able to block, and that's not going to be Todd Christensen. I'm going to keep Gonzalez, Sharp, Newsom, and Bavaro.
There you go.
Because Christensen was sort of one of the early. He was a tight end, but he was kind of almost like a wing. He was good. They were all great.
They were all great. I mean, you couldn't
Novacek
can't go wrong with any.
Novacek's probably one of the most underrated, but I still think Bavaro is better than Novacek, and I think it's a toss-up between Christensen and Ozzie Newsome. I just think Ozzie Newsome is probably a better all-around tight end.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. So and you keep Newsome, Bavaro, Sharp, and Gonzalez. All right. There you have it. There's our.
So I win.
You win for the irrationally thought out.
No, not thought out. There's
no thought out.
No,
just random decision.
Yeah. I flipped 6 coins. And 4 of them came up.
Plus, I just like Ozzie. He almost looks like he was like he played in whatever year he played in. He always looked like 10 years before that. I don't know if it was his face mask or his shoulder pads or something. There's something very old school about him, even though he didn't play that long ago.
There you go. Hold on. All right. Yeah, we just had a comment from Mr. David Scardino. He wanted to know where my Aikman jersey was since the Cowboys scored 56 points the other night. So yeah.
Troy Aikman had nothing to do with that, though.
Troy Aikman had nothing to do with those 56 points. Although I do have to tell you, I saw somebody posted somewhere on one of the NFL groups today. It said the Green Bay Packers will be knocked out of the playoffs by the Cowboys because there's no way that Aaron Rodgers will be able to keep up with the Dallas defense. Go ahead, and then under it said, go ahead and throw all the weird face emojis you want so I could take a screenshot of it and then stick it up and shove it down your throat when that actually happens in the playoffs. So, I wonder if he was a Dallas fan that was saying that.
Depends on which Dallas team shows up. I mean, look, Dallas looked great last week. They had everything go their possible way, but the team they were playing wasn't the Green Bay Packers.
No, it was not.
Those are the kind of Dallas fans that
And Dak Prescott's no Troy Aikman.
Give Dallas fans a bad name.
He's not a bad quarterback, but Troy Aikman.
No, the whole team. I mean, they're playing.
Troy Aikman's one of the best
crazy
quarterbacks ever played
football.
the position.
It didn't help that how many turnovers were there? 17.
You know what I liked watching is this week I noticed all of the either ex-Giants or Giants that draft picks that they passed on was having killer games and amazing seasons.
Right.
It's nice to know that the Giants handed Micah Parsons to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, because they needed
probably their biggest rival.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
That was a very smart move on the Giants. We've said that many times. That was just,
listen.
Well, you know what? They got that extra first-round pick this year. That's what's important, right?
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, though. I'm sure they didn't think that Dallas was going to, in other words, the Giants.
There you go.
They were wrong with their pick. They were also wrong on what they thought Dallas was going to do.
Right.
So there was no thinking.
Right.
You can't really blame them. They're just not good at picking.
Well,
they're not good at anything.
I'm going to throw this stat out there for you. All right.
Okay.
Since Super Bowl 46, since the last Super Bowl the Giants won, all right, the 2011 season, Super Bowl was in early 2012, right?
Okay.
There have been nine seasons, 10 with this one. All right. Of that, divisional winners, NFC East divisional winners. Washington has won 3 in 2012, 15, and 20. Okay. Philly has won 3 in 2013, 2017, 2019.
2
Dallas,
Super Bowls out of this too.
And won a Super Bowl, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Dallas has won 3 now this year, 4 in 2014, 16, 18, and now 21.
So that's 10.
That's 10, including this year. So Giants have won 0.
Yeah, we know the Giants stink.
Yeah, and 7 years prior to that, okay, 7 years prior to that, Giants won 3 out of 7, with 2005, 8, and 11, with Philly winning 2 and Dallas winning the other 2. So, so in the last 17 years, Philly's won 5, Dallas has won 6, Washington's won 3, Giants have won 3 in the last 17 years. So, it's just they need to clean house is what they need to do, and enough has been said about this. We don't need to belabor this.
Let's skip over the Giants and go to the positive New York football news.
I'll just say this. Here's the good news about what the Giants have done, or about the effects of what they have done.
Go ahead.
It has brought the 3 of us closer together on the misery train.
Fair enough.
Right? Because, look, you're Giant fans, and you can still say, well, we're Giant fans, and historically our team's better than your team.
Right.
I.e. But recently, they both sucked up pretty bad.
Right.
Collectively, they're really, really...
Yeah. And
really,
we can share that.
Really
that,
bad.
Well, collectively, they are the 2 worst teams in the entire NFL.
And we can share that, and I feel like it's brought us together. So
yeah.
That's a good thing to say. I like that way you're looking at it.
I don't know if that's why the Giants did it.
But I've known this about the
Giants
might have been
for years. Maybe that was their method to their madness there.
Maybe.
It could be.
Maybe they were thinking, we got those guys, this Jets-Giants rivalry between them. We got to give them something that they can all, they can all commiserate about,
right,
and bond over. So let's try and suck.
That's right.
Right around the same amount that the Jets do.
You don't even have the highlight of Jets and Giants fans beating the crap out of each other in the last preseason game anymore.
Yeah, I know. I missed it.
Don't have any of that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I will give you this really quick stat on the Giants. The last time the Giants had 3 different starting quarterbacks play in one season was 1992. Ray Handley was the head coach.
Oh, he was a good one.
Yeah. Phil Simms played 4 games, and he went 1-3. Jeff Hostetler played 9 games. He went 5-4. And Kent Graham played 3 games and went 0-3. So,
Kent Graham.
Graham.
I'll take any of them right now.
Yeah,
I love his crackers.
At their current age.
I will take Phil Simms right now at his current age over any of the. That's
Would you take Kent Graham?
But we do have
Probably.
this generation's Jeff Hostetler, and he's right here. So.
Yeah, maybe looks wise, but
anyway, for those of you listening to the audio podcast, there was another picture of Jake Fromm. So, anyway,
this whole excitement about Jake Fromm thing's got to stop.
I know.
Well, the only difference is that Fromm never gets to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Hostetler at least got a chance to play.
Hostetler won a fucking Super Bowl.
Hostetler won a Super Bowl.
I know. I'm saying that Fromm would do that with the team. Certainly not this year, but how about we see what he can do?
For those last years that Hostetler was starting, he was a better quarterback than Phil Simms. Yes, Giant fans. Sorry, he was a better quarterback.
Mobile. And I've said it before. I've said it on
John
the show.
Has said this before.
I've said it before, and I've said it on the show, and I've said it to both of you guys for many, many years. Phil Simms helped get the Giants to that record and get them to the Super Bowl. The Giants do not win that Super Bowl if he's quarterbacking.
I've said the same thing.
Yeah. Jeff Hostetler, the fact that Jeff Hostetler was a quarterback, they won that Super Bowl because of that. Anyway. And obviously Otis Anderson in the defense was a very big part, but that's besides the point. Anyway.
He was a perfect quarterback for an offensively challenged team that nobody else you could take any of these great quarterbacks today. None of them are going to put their helmet into Richard Dent's gut and drive him into the end zone to score a touchdown.
Right.
None of them. Not even Cam Newton.
Yeah.
And I'll just say this. If Jeff Hostetler shows up on a quiz, I'm cutting him.
Yeah. Depends on who he's there with. If he's there with Kent Graham and
maybe
he's
there with Kent Graham, Dave Brown,
Chad Pennington.
Oh, Chad Pennington is the winner on that one. You know that.
If you pull up 6 Giant quarterbacks, and I got to keep 4.
That's right. Obscure New York quarterbacks of the 80s and 90s.
All right, I'll go back to the 70s too. Here you go. Ready? Here are your quarterbacks. Here are your quarterbacks. Here are your quarterback. Joe Pisarcik.
Twice?
Yeah, twice. Joe Pisarcik.
I'm keeping them both times.
Jerry Goldstein.
Oh, God.
All right.
Dave Brown?
Hold on.
Dave Brown was horrible.
Jeff Rutledge.
Jeff Rutledge. Rutledge had potential. He was kind of like a Hostetler in training.
Scott Brunner.
Ooh.
That's a bad one.
Kent Graham and Jeff Hostetler.
Ooh, you got to keep 4 of them?
You got to keep 4 of those guys.
Well, Goldstein's gone, and I guess Scott Brunner, maybe.
Yeah, all right. That's probably the best way.
Yeah, Pisarcik. Brunner and Pisarcik, that's a coin.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
Whose heads?
Brunner's heads.
Brunner's heads. Sorry, it's Pisarcik.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you almost have to keep Pisarcik just because I think he sort of is the Giants' spirit animal these days, you know?
Right.
You could just watch that play and say, it could be worse.
Dave Scordino said Jeff Rutledge. So
you keeping Rutledge?
You keeping Rutledge or getting
Rutledge wasn't bad. I mean, Rutledge, he went. Who did he go to after the Redskins?
I believe so.
Yeah. He went to the playoffs, I think, with the Redskins.
Yeah. All right. One other thing on the Giants, and we're done. Just want to point out this past weekend was one of the most pathetic offensive performances, and there've been many lately that I've seen from this Giants team. In the second half of that game, about maybe 5 minutes left, so like 2/3 of the way through the fourth quarter, the Cowboys had 138 yards. The Giants had 18 yards of offense.
Yeah, I think I saw at one point they had like 52 yards of offense or something.
Before 5 minutes left before Eagles, did I say? I'm sorry, Eagles, yes.
I mean, the Cowboys would have had more.
Cowboys would have more. The Eagles had, the Eagles sucked in the first half, too. You're right, the Eagles.
If the Cowboys this past week were playing the Giants, they would have scored 73.
73, at least, yeah. Whatchamacallit. No, the Giants, before 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the Giants had under 100 yards of offense for the game. Yeah. It was pathetic. But
I couldn't watch it. Look, they're going to ride out this season. I hope they give Fromm some snaps. It sounds like he's going to start again this week.
Yep.
The only bad thing about all this is that it's going to mask. It's just not going to. Daniel Jones's record is going to be padded in the positive because he's not. He's held out because of this injury.
Yeah.
Can you honestly say you're going to know anything? Well, Harry, we know your opinion of
Jeff Rutledge,
of Jake Brown Part 2. is solid, and he's nothing. He'll never forget it. Give up on him. But are you going to know any more about
Fromm?
Do we really need to know more about Glennon? But are you going to know any more about Fromm than you knew, even if he plays the last couple of years?
I honestly, I mean, my assessment on Fromm, based solely on comparing his college credentials to Daniel Jones, I think he's got the potential of being a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. Having said that, is he the future of the Giants, and is he going to be a top 20 quarterback in the NFL? Probably not.
Yeah.
But, he's not as he's probably, he hasn't had the snaps or preseason or any of that Daniel Jones had when he first came in. Daniel Jones kind of came in and in a situation too where he was taking over for somebody, for lack of a better term. But I don't know. I think Jones, believe it or not, probably had a better in his first year. Probably had a more sound offense behind him. So I don't know. I think Fromm has some potential. You got to let him play it out, though. He's going to make mistakes. He's young. The NFL game is so much faster, and it's a lot faster if you're standing in the pocket behind the Giants' offensive line.
It's a little too fast then.
It's coming at you at warp speed.
All right. Well, that was a team that really sucked up the field last Sunday. Let's talk about one that actually didn't.
The Jets tried to lose this game.
Are the Jets going to win today?
They most certainly are.
I mean, yes. I mean, no. I mean, yes. I mean, no. I mean, yes. I mean, no.
There you go.
Congratulations on your last win
Of
the season. And maybe the last win for a New York City-based football team for the season.
True story.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
unlikely.
much right.
I think the Giants have a game they might win, right?
No.
One of the, oh, okay.
No.
There's no chance in hell.
The Giants.
I think right now the Giants are. I think they're the worst team in football. I think if they played the Jaguars with this current situation, I think they lose. To
the Jags would win. The Jags would win. Absolutely. Yeah, they are the worst.
It would be a close. They both try to ruin the chance of winning, but I think the Jags.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that. Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
But I think we can all say that even though Daniel Jones is not,
they're better with Jones.
They're better, much better with Daniel Jones in there than the other crap. And it again points out the fact that why did they let Colt McCoy walk and for a backup? Because they needed Mike Glennon instead. I don't understand that. Was it money? It's a backup. It's whatever. But enough about the Giants. Let's talk about the Jets. They won, and well, first of all, who was it that had the 105-yard return? TD return? Pete.
I don't know.
It's your team.
What, am I supposed to know the stats?
Was it Barrios?
I guess so.
Yeah,
because he's their return guy.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Yeah, and then and Zach Wilson had that run too.
Yeah, please.
Hey, he dodged a couple of people. He
he had more rushing. He had 102 yards rushing. He carried it. I don't know.
Look,
91 yards rushing.
91 yards rushing 50,
on 4 carries. 4 carries.
Well, it was what was it? 52 or 56? I think 52 maybe was the touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilson's stat line looks like somebody from a really good high school team. 102 yards passing and 91 yards rushing.
Yeah. 14 for 22 for 102 and a touchdown and 4 carries.
He leads Elizabeth to the Division III championship.
Here's I guess what you could say about this game, and that is obviously Zach Wilson did more with his legs than he did with his arm. That's not a situation you want to be in very often. But we know he's athletic and all that. But don't start designing run plays for him now.
Right.
No.
I think we learned that Michael Carter might have a future. Again, you have to do it for more than 1 year, but he's proven to be a decent running back.
Sure.
Barrios is a really nice player.
Look,
I like him a lot. The Jets are a very, very young team. I don't think this win proves anything. Or really, that they can, I guess they can win without passing the ball. But, look, I mean, on the flip side of the ball, you had Trevor Lawrence and Marvin Jones had 75 yards on 8 catches,
The Jets' offensive game plan should be to let the other team score, hopefully just a field goal. And then they get most of their yardage on kick returns.
Yeah.
I mean, Barrios had 3 Coleman had 3, 228 yards on 6 returns. Barrios averaged 46 yards a kick return, and Coleman 30. Just let him score a field goal, and then you're going to get your best chance of getting into scoring position by returning a kick.
Not a bad game plan.
No,
not a bad game plan at all.
Yeah, Barrios and Coleman, that was a pretty potent duo, both with the kick returns and on the ground too.
Yeah.
So listen, they not counting so 32 running plays and 22 passing plays.
Yeah.
Not counting Wilson's rushes, which would be 36. So, I don't know. Like I said,
they tried.
I learned a couple guys look like they might be legitimate players.
Right.
That's which I guess is something you want to kind of learn if you're a Jets fan about this season, right?
I think people feel that way every time they play Jacksonville.
Oh, it could be
pretty much.
But this is Carter's looked pretty good at times.
Yeah.
This was, in other words, if he had come out and just had sort of an average game against Jacksonville, then he'd kind of go, I don't know, maybe he's had a couple nice games, but he comes out, takes advantage of a lousy team, and has a pretty good day, almost 120 yards.
Yeah.
And you go, well, that's what a good running back should do.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's a very positive sign.
I would love to see what the Giants, what the outcome would be if the Giants played the Jags this year.
Right now, it would be an ugly game. It'd be a toss-up, but
it would be an ugly game. And
I would have to pick the Jags.
I would too, because clearly they have the by far better quarterback on the field. But that's besides the point. All right, but yeah. So Jets, kudos. Again, Harry pointed out it's probably the last. So the Jets are playing the Bucks this weekend. Something tells me they're not going to be able to win this game.
I don't know. Brady might sit the second half.
Maybe he might sit after the first
Jets
quarter.
Might be too far behind.
Exactly.
So who do you think? Who do you think winds up with the first pick? Detroit or Jacksonville?
It depends. It depends. Of
course, it depends. I'm asking you.
No, Of course, I know. Yeah.
It depends on who wins. But I mean, if they both go 2 and whatever, because Jacksonville's already
right now. Jacksonville has the first pick.
Because Detroit's got a tie, right?
Detroit's got a tie, right?
Yeah.
I don't think either of them win another game. So
I don't know. Let's see.
I don't know. The Lions could if they don't.
The Lions are playing Seahawks in Seattle this week.
That they could win that game.
That could be a win.
It could be a win, and then they're playing the Packers at home.
That's not going to be a win.
Okay,
no.
So now what is Jacksonville doing?
The Jags are playing.
Unless that game's meaningless. Unless that Packer game is meaningless.
I don't think it'll be meaningless because everybody's right there. The Packers lead the pack, if you will, by one game, and it's going to come down to not this week. It's going to come down to next week for home field for that one spot for the one home field advantage in the bye.
Maybe.
So Jaguars play the Pats this week, so that's a loss, and they play the Colts the following week. So that's a loss. So yeah, I don't think either of these teams win another game. The only one that might is Detroit.
So
that's moved.
Jacksonville's going to have
Jacksonville's going to have the first pick again.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and they're just. Statistically, if you like, their points given up are pretty similar to Detroit. They've scored less. Their differential is obviously a little bit bigger, but
Detroit's been in a lot more closer games.
Yeah,
Detroit should have won
team.
At least one more game.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So there you go. But
all right.
So
there you go. So Jacksonville
will hang their hat on another top number 1 pick.
So they'll get a nice receiver.
They've become the Browns of league.
Or an offensive lineman.
Or something.
Then they could take an offensive lineman.
They'll take the offensive lineman that the Giants would have.
Why not?
I would. Why not? There you go.
I know, but well, I don't know. Urban Meyer's not there, so they might.
Sure. Yeah. Couple other notes around the league. We'll talk about some games too, but a couple Giants things I just want to point out really quick, stats wise. Kenny Golladay, all right, signed a $150 billion deal with them or something like that.
It was 129.
He led the NFL in touchdown receptions in 2019 with 11. He has 0 with the Giants right now. Just saying.
That's not his fault, though.
No, it's not. It's not his fault. But
Just so everybody knows.
If they were
Everyone
signing
around him
somebody,
works.
if they were signing somebody that was the leading touchdown receiver 2 years ago, wouldn't you want to throw him the ball?
All right, but who was throwing to him 2 years ago?
That would be Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. Okay. So, to me, it has more. That has more to do with those numbers than
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yes.
2 years is a long time.
This is true. Giants have 5 losses of 20-plus points under Joe Judge. They had 6 from 2015 to 2019 with 4 different head coaches.
Yeah. So we've gone over it. I mean, look, the Giants are going to hold on to Joe Judge. They're going to give him another year. I don't know why, but it's all part of this. Let's make really bad decisions.
The Dallas game, 56 points. All right. Now, granted, they were playing Washington. So
Washington, though, is not a horrible team, and their defense has been consistently pretty good for the last couple of years.
I got to find this stat, and I'll bring it up next week because I was looking for it before, and I couldn't find it. I heard it after the game, and I didn't write it down, and I was looking for it. I couldn't find it anywhere, but I'll find it, and we'll bring it up next week. But Dak Prescott became the second quarterback to throw a touchdown reception to a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, and an offensive lineman in the same game. Mm-hmm. So, and that I know, but the stat was who's the other one. I couldn't find it anywhere, but I'm sure it was a while ago.
Jeff
anyway,
Rutledge.
Jeff Rutledge. There you go.
Remember that one game? Yeah, that one game against the Eagles.
Exactly. But the Dallas's 56 points versus Washington were more than the entire month of December's points scored by Tennessee, was 53, New England, 52, the Giants, 46, the Jags, 44,
and the New York Knicks,
and Carolina, 41. The only thing that Tennessee, New England, and Carolina had going for them is they all had a bye in December. The Giants and the Jags did not.
Jeez.
So that's 4 games.
Who was Washington's quarterback last year?
Heineke. Same guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, who was it 2 years ago?
Alex Smith.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I know Alex Smith came back last year. I'm sorry.
Alex Smith was not the quarterback. It was
he came back, but they said no. Thank you.
2 years ago, Heineke came in the middle of the season for I can't remember. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't, yeah. But in any event, Jeff Rutledge. It was Jeff Rutledge. That's what it was. Always go to the rut. There you go. But yeah, Giants scored 46 points in 4 games. Dallas scored 56 points in 1 game. So, Dallas. Here's the thing, though. That Dallas defense is
56 points. Though it still only counts as 1 win.
This is true.
And
their defense. They had 9 different defensive linemen rotating in and out the entire game. That's what keeps the entire defense fresh, too. And and every single one of them was as good as the other one. It wasn't like they have major depth in their defense. A lot of teams don't even have
all right, so
starters that are deep enough.
Dallas had a good game.
They had a good game.
They're a good
2019 quarterbacks. Case Keenum, Colt McCoy, and Dwayne Haskins.
Case Keenum, that was it.
Right,
Dwayne Haskins. Yeah, Dwayne Haskins is he's still on the Steelers now. Right?
Keenum started 8, Haskins started 7, and Colt McCoy started 1 game.
There you go. Last year was Alex Smith came back from his injury last year, played a few games, and then Heineke came in.
Who was the Redskins quarterback who injured his neck when headbutting the wall after scoring a touchdown?
Is it Gus Frerotte?
Yeah, there you go. Gus Frerotte.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and okay, right. So it was last year that Heineke...
Last year Heineke came in.
Had some success in the playoffs, right? Didn't they win a playoff game?
They almost won the playoff game. They almost beat the Bucs in the playoff game.
So he hasn't really worked out this year.
No. He had a hell of a game against the Giants earlier in the year, and I'm sure he'll have another hell of a game against them next week. But in any event, brings me to the Steelers. The Steelers scored no touchdowns in the first half of the last 5 games. That's the first time that they've done that since 1940. So, is that a sign of a lot, or is it just an unfortunate coincidence?
They like coming from behind.
All right.
There's a joke in there, but we'll keep it clean.
We'll leave it alone. And the Chiefs have won their 6th straight division title. It's the longest streak of division title wins in team history and the longest active streak in the NFL, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, on that note, and I think we touched on this last week. Who do we all think is going to be the? Let's do this. Give me top seeds from the AFC and the NFC.
Who's going to be the top seeds?
Who's going to be? Give me the top seeds from the AFC and the NFC.
Green Bay and probably Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. Pete.
Yeah, you'd have to go with Green Bay.
All right.
Unless they stumble over the next 2 weeks, but yeah, it won't be anybody from the AFC East. And yeah, who else are going to be besides the Chiefs? I mean,
exactly.
Tennessee can do whatever they do. Unless they win the Super Bowl, no one's going to really give them credit.
Right.
I mean, Green Bay plays the Vikings and the Lions, and the Vikings historically will probably give them a pretty good game, but I think they should win that.
Yeah.
Even if they lose, don't they have the tiebreaker with the Bucks?
I believe they do.
Yeah.
I
So,
believe they do, yeah.
and the Bucks play. Who do they play? They play the Jets and the Panthers. That Panthers game might be closer than you think, but they should both win out, and so I think it's going to be Green Bay.
Yeah. There you go. All right. So
the surprise team out of all of these top seeds is Tennessee. Yeah. It's just, how is Tennessee 10-5?
How did they get there without Derrick Henry? It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, listen, proof positive the devaluation of the running back.
Yeah.
Well, they have a great defense, and I think that's part of and they just seem to know how to win games. I think he should win Coach of the Year.
Oh yeah,
I really do. I mean, they're not that loaded with talent. Yeah. They are a very
but they've also got Houston.
Team.
They've also got Houston and Jacksonville in their division.
True, but
let me.
They beat the Colts. Okay, they beat the Bills.
Yeah,
they beat the Chiefs. They've won. They beat the Colts twice. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Saints. They beat the Rams.
They lost to the Jets.
They lost to the Texans.
Yeah.
All right. And
but that's sort of over the last couple of years. That's kind of their MO.
Yeah.
Right.
Is they've beaten some really good teams that you look at that and you go, wow, how do they do that?
I don't want to play.
But they had Derrick Henry.
So. I mean, I don't want to play him in the first round of the playoffs.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I have 2 questions.
Go for it.
Let's see. We'll go with maybe the easy one first, or I don't know. Maybe it's not. How do the Atlanta Falcons have 7 wins?
The Atlanta Falcons are
Your
a
guess
team.
is as good as me.
Well,
I mean, they have Carolina in their division.
The Atlanta Falcons are a team that probably should have more than 7 wins. If you look at the beginning of the season for them, there was 3 or 4 games where they should have won that they lost. They still, they have a pretty decent offense. They can score when they need to. They have a very underrated, I think, quarterback, and a guy who was, I think, a league MVP not that many years ago. Yeah,
they're amongst the.
I think you could say this
conference lowest as far as points they've scored.
Yeah, but they score when it counts,
and amongst the highest of points given up.
Yeah,
I guess if you have a couple of blowouts and then a couple of close games, it kind of skews those numbers a little bit.
There's only other than the 1 point difference between them, points they fielded and the Panthers. There's only one team in the entire NFC that scored less points than them.
They've also played the NFC East.
I'm sorry,
the Giants.
Yeah, well, the Lions. The Giants have the least.
Yeah, Lions have.
Yeah, Giants have the least.
They've beaten up on teams that they should have won, and they've won a couple games that they probably shouldn't have. They beat the Dolphins early on in the year. They beat the Saints. They've lost actually most of their games to the NFC East, with the exception of the Giants.
The Giants probably should have won that game.
Yeah, they beat the Jaguars and they beat the Giants. So they have not before I speak, let me see here. Their wins are against the Giants, the Jets, the Dolphins. So the Dolphins are the only team with a winning record. Okay, the Saints, the Jaguars, the Panthers, and the Lions.
Okay, so they've beaten the teams.
They've beaten the teams that they should have beaten.
Right.
All right. Here's my next question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start in the AFC. Which is the worst division?
In the AFC?
Yeah.
Worst division in the AFC.
Is it the South that has Houston and Jacksonville?
I think it's the North.
Is it the North?
Just because collectively they're all now. You could make an argument for the East only because the Jets are the worst team, and other than Jacksonville. But yeah,
but everybody else is in over 500 in contention.
It's not the AFC West. I would say the South. The South has maybe two of the best teams in the AFC, but two of the worst.
But the two worst.
Yeah.
Two,
So I would say the
worst.
South. I would say the South because the
South,
North
right.
is just filled with mediocrity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
although
in
a,
other words,
a Bengals team that who knows what's going to happen with them. They could wind up going to the Super Bowl.
yeah, like you look at the Bengals and you look at the Ravens, who I think the Ravens have underperformed a little bit this year. And
Major injuries. Yeah.
Yeah. But then you look at Pittsburgh and Cleveland, who are like, what are they?
They're mediocre teams who can beat any team on any given day if they really want to.
Yeah.
But with the exception of the Chiefs, that's kind of the story for the rest of the AFC
The entire
West,
rest
isn't
of the
I mean, the Chargers are no great shakes despite their early success. The Raiders, same story, right? Looked good early on, lost a few games they shouldn't have, and the Broncos they're all a toss up.
Right.
At least in the North, you kind of have the Ravens, which are, if everybody's healthy, they're a pretty darn good team.
So, who do you think are the top 5 teams in the AFC?
Let's see. I think you have to put Buffalo and New England there.
Okay.
I would.
Yeah. I think you have to put Tennessee there.
Okay.
Obviously the Chiefs.
I would put the Colts as the 5th.
I would put the Colts there
probably
too.
put the Colts as the 5th over
the Chargers or the Ravens. I would put the Colts in there as the 5th.
Yeah. And I think that might, at this point, I might have to put the Bengals as I don't know. Are the Bills that much better than Cincinnati or Baltimore? And are the Dolphins not just as good as the Bills right now?
I think the Dolphins are playing really good. I mean, the
South. My
longest
point,
win streak in the AFC right now.
So I think the South has 2 of the top 5.
Yeah.
Let's think about this though. The Dolphins were 1-7. They're now 8-7.
Let me ask you this though. So I knew, because I kind of knew who you guys were going to pick. Are Tennessee and Indianapolis in the top 5 because they get to play the Texans and the Jaguars 4 times a year?
No, well, we just ran down Tennessee's bona fides or bona fides. That's my third question. Is it bona fides, bona fides, bona fides?
Bona fides.
Bona fides. That's what I said. And look, the Colts are.
There's a lot. The AFC has a lot of Jekyll and Hyde teams. Do you have any faith that the Colts are as good as how they've played in the last couple of games? I don't.
I do. I have more faith.
I have more faith than I did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I have more faith that the Colts are as good.
How about
as
the Bills?
They are, so to speak.
Are the Bills back? Are the Bengals back?
I have more faith in the Colts than I do in the Bills. That's what I'm saying.
I'd say that's a toss-up. I have more faith in the Colts than I do in the Dolphins.
Do you have more faith in the Colts and the Titans going deep into the playoffs?
I could see the Colts beating the Titans. I
don't know, man. Titans, they're one of those teams that finds a way to get it done.
Right. But the Colts have one thing that the Titans don't have.
Right.
Jonathan
Running
Taylor.
back.
Yeah. As opposed to, no Derrick Henry there.
And a good offensive line.
Yeah.
to help him out. Yeah.
The Colts have a really good defense.
Yeah.
I mean, but we talk about Buffalo being an offensive juggernaut, and they have scored 427 points.
Yeah.
The Bills are plus 163 and have only given up 264 points, only 4 more than the Patriots. So we talk, we talk about how amazed, how the Bills have the Bills defense is really good.
Well, yeah, but let's see, where the Patriots 388. That's not bad. That's better than fair to middling. So they've scored. I think of the Patriots probably irrationally is they don't score a lot of points. They win, they just don't score a lot of points.
Right.
But 388 is nothing to sneeze at. And they've given up 4 less than Buffalo has.
I know, that's what I was saying.
And then you have Miami.
My point being is that everybody's talking about the Patriots are inevitably the best team in the AFC East and maybe the only team that can beat the Chiefs. I still am holding out hope for this Bills team. I still think that the Bills, if they can get their shit together, are maybe the second best team in the AFC. I really do believe that. I think I would have more faith in a road game with the Bills, with a quarterback with some experience, than I would with the Patriots. The Patriots looked like they had some major holes.
Yep.
Literally and figuratively in there. They got exposed a little bit.
Yeah,
listen,
as good as they were
They've
playing,
lost 2 in a row.
In the last 2 games, they've not looked good.
Well, look,
as good as they did anyway.
They do have a rookie quarterback, and as much as Bill Belichick can do what he does, and Mac Jones is obviously not some slouch. He's still a rookie, and as the pressure mounts and the games get bigger, and it gets a little later in the season, he's just naturally going to be more prone to make mistakes.
And I still have a little bit more faith in Josh Allen than I do in Carson Wentz. What I like about the Colts is that they have a really good defense, and if that running game can stay anywhere close to what it has been, they're going to be tough to beat. I think the Colts are maybe the third in the power rankings in the AFC right now. I think you got to put them 2 or 3.
And listen, Wentz, I think I looked at his stats the other day. He's had a pretty good season.
He does.
But he hasn't had to carry the team.
Right.
So getting in that, and I agree, you put him in that situation where they're shutting down the run. Almost anybody, you stack 8 in the box, you can shut down the run. Almost any team, unless you're like the Jets, of course.
Right.
And you put 11 in the box and you can't stop Jonathan Taylor. But put Carson Wentz in that situation where the run isn't working and he's got to win it with his arm. I don't know. Still a question mark in my mind.
I mean, look, if the Dolphins can beat Tennessee, which they could, and the Colts can win out, does that give the Colts a chance to win that division? Because I think the whoever wins that division is going to have an advantage because they're going to have home field and potentially a bye in the first round. I think if the Colts have to win a wild card game, and it's interesting.
Well, nobody's going to have there's only one bye in the first round now because there's 7 teams. So the Chiefs pretty much will have that.
But I think having I think home field does still matter.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's switch to the NFC.
All right.
Same question. Who's the weakest division in the NFC?
East?
I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, because you have one good team, one team that I still think is on the plus side of mediocre. I think you have one team that's on the downside of mediocre and one team that absolutely fucking sucks.
All right, let's look at the East and the North.
Mm-hmm.
Is Washington better than Chicago?
Yes.
Okay.
Are the Giants, for all their woes, better than Detroit?
That's not necessarily.
No.
Not
If the
necessarily,
Giants played
right?
the Lions right now, the Lions would win.
All right, so that's kind of split. And Philly and the Vikings, I don't know.
About even.
Philly seems is our thoughts on Philly?
Who knows?
I
think they're peaking. They're peaking at the right time. They've won.
Yeah, 1 week they look better than we think, and then you look overall and you go, "Well, I don't know what happened to them there."
They've won 3 in a row against some pretty decent teams.
Yeah,
and I think they have a chance. I think they could win out, and if they get into the playoffs, I don't want to play Philly.
So doesn't that mean that they're? Who do you have more confidence in, Philly or Minnesota?
I think they're going to give Dallas a run for the money in that last game. And if Dallas doesn't have to play for anything, then maybe Philly wins out and gets into the playoffs.
Right now, they have the 7th spot. Right, they're in right now. They win out. They're in.
But if they lose to Dallas, then they're on the bubble.
Right. Depends.
Yeah.
So does that mean the North is weaker?
No, I don't think the North is weaker. I don't.
Okay.
I think they're pretty well. I think they're pretty much even.
Let
right
me
now,
put it to you this way.
I think the worst team in both divisions is in the East.
And the Eagles in Washington have benefited from playing the Giants.
Each other. The Giants, yeah.
And each other.
So.
Yeah, but who did Detroit beat?
The Cardinals.
Right. No, but I'm saying they haven't beaten anybody in the NFC North.
No, they didn't. Well, no.
So any of their, division rivals have been.
No, they beat the Vikings, and they beat the Cardinals. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they beat the Vikings,
and then they
tied Pittsburgh.
And
yeah, okay. Yeah, see, that's why I would say that. Like, I don't know if I would put Minnesota over Philly right now.
No, but
I don't know that I would
Minnesota
either.
was having a bit of a resurgence, so we said, well, and they had lost a couple of close games.
I look at it this way: the Packers, and hate me if you want, Pete or Dave, if you're still listening, but I still think the Packers are above the Cowboys.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
The Giants are below the Lions. Therefore, it's the East.
And I'm not necessarily sure Dallas is better than the Rams. I think they both have shown weaknesses this year that Green Bay has not necessarily shown. I think both Dallas and the Rams, though, on a good day, could beat Green Bay and could beat Tampa Bay. So I think the top two teams in the NFC are still Tampa Bay and Green Bay. Mm-hmm. I don't have Dallas ahead of Tampa Bay, and I certainly don't have the Dallas ahead of the Rams.
Well, let me throw this out.
And is Dallas better than Arizona? I don't think so.
I don't know. Listen, I'm a Cowboys fan, and that's an interesting question. Well, let me throw the South into the mix here, because you have the Bucs, and then really we talked about the Falcons and what they've done. The Saints are totally Jekyll and Hyde,
right?
And the Panthers, they stink. I mean, there's really only one team who's decent or better in the NFC South, and that's Tampa Bay.
I think overall the best division is the West. I think the worst is the East, and you can make an argument that the North is second worst, the South is third worst, and
third worst.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. When it comes to worst, yeah, exactly. So, and then you look at the Panthers in the South. The one of the games they lost was actually to the Giants, but that's besides the point. So.
Yeah. I also think that San Francisco would probably, they're a team. Are the Eagles better than San Francisco? The 49ers are the 49ers, the Eagles, the Saints
to some extent.
They're all these teams that you just don't know. They could give anybody a game and potentially beat them. The 49ers are 3-4 at home. They're 5-3 away.
Yeah.
So the Eagles.
Yeah.
So.
But that's the other thing. Yeah, look at Falcons, Saints, and Panthers are all.
But the teams that are hot right now
are on the road.
The teams that are hot going into the end of the season are obviously Dallas and Philly. Green Bay's won 4 in a row. Yes,
the Rams have won 4 in a row,
and the Rams are looking good.
Yeah,
despite maybe Matthew Stafford still doing some Jared Goff-esque type things.
Right.
Yeah. Look, the one thing that I would say that Green Bay, the Rams, Dallas, and to a slightly lesser degree, Arizona and the Eagles have is that all three of those teams have excellent defenses. I think Tampa Bay's defense is not as good right now as Los Angeles or Dallas or Green Bay, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But I think that they maybe still have the best. If they're healthy, they still have maybe the best offense. So it's going to be interesting. I think Green Bay is the team to beat. Look, Dallas. I've said this since the beginning of the year. Dallas is head and shoulders the best team in the NFC East. You could make an argument that they're the second best team in the NFC right now.
And then
you could also make the argument they're the third best
right.
team.
Yeah, absolutely. Or fourth.
Yeah, I can argue with that.
I mean, right now, I think the Rams, the Bucks, I give a slight edge to them over Dallas just because of who they played and their consistency. But I don't want to play Dallas right now.
All right. Well, if on that note, I should say, why don't we get to some picks?
Let's do it.
All right.
Why don't we do just that? Have to. All right. Here we go. Beaten by the coin.
Beaten by the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
All right. Coming down to the wire. An interesting week with 7 games picked, which is, I think, the most we've ever picked.
Yeah, I think so.
And the two of you going 5-2. Nice job. Yours truly losing an extra game with Cleveland going 4-3. The coin, boy, that Jacksonville pick really hurt him. Put the coin at 3-4. So Johnny and Harry at 52-32. Yours truly a game ahead at 53-31. The coin 10 games under 500, which isn't terrible.
Not too bad.
Considering how we're picking. And it doesn't, I don't know. I think I have been using the same quarter the whole season. So.
Yes, I believe you're right.
Oh, well, no, there was one week where I couldn't find it, and you had to.
Yeah, except for 1 week.
But I think the coin probably had a good week that week.
There you go.
So this week we are 1, 2, 3. We're adding some extra game. One extra game here. We're going to pick 6.
Yep.
And we'll start with the Tampa Bay Bucks being hosted by the, well, let's face it, on a hot streak, New York Jets.
On a hot
streak
of 1 game.
Longest winning streak they've had. Ties their longest winning streak of the season.
This is true.
At 1.
There you go.
And does anyone want to take the Jets?
No.
No.
Okay. Let's see. The coin loves the Jets this year. Heads. I need a light under it. Taking the Jets. Okay. Stupid coin. That's why you're doomed to fail, coin. All right. Giants in Chicago against the Bears, who, whatever. They were kind of, no, they're not good.
No.
I thought they had a couple of weeks where they looked pretty good, but they're lousy. They have one more win than the Giants, so this is a win here by the Giants and put them equal with.
If the Giants weren't such a mess, this was one of those games. If you were looking at, I think the Giants definitely have a chance to win this. But on the road with the Bears have not looked great, but they beat the Seahawks. With the Giants, can the Giants beat the Seahawks? No. This is going to be an ugly game, but I think the Bears win this.
Bears, yeah, definitely.
And it's sad to say that because this is a game the Giants, if you went back 5 weeks ago, this is a game the Giants projecting out should have had a chance to
should have been winning. Yeah, if Daniel Jones was playing, they would have won. If Daniel Jones was playing, they would have won last week. They would win this week. It's clearly, the anemic part of what's been going on with the offense has been obviously at the quarterback position because they don't have anybody that can play the position. So
they have an all-star running back that they can hand the ball off to. Oh wait,
not
he's
behind
not
that Swiss
good.
cheese that they call a line.
Well, that Swiss cheese isn't going to protect Daniel Jones or anybody else.
If the Giants were home, would you pick them?
No.
Ooh. I'm tempted. From's going to start, but
he's going to be pulled. It's like a reliever start. He's going to start the first quarter.
He's going to be an opener. He's going to play half the first quarter.
Judge has to let him ride him out unless he gets hurt. God forbid not. He's got to let him play the whole game. I'm
tempted to take the Giants, but I can't.
This is the last chance the Giants have of winning a game this year.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what the coin says. So we're all in for Chicago. Coin likes the away team.
Giants.
They like the Giants. Oh, man. The coin is dumb. All right. Arizona being hosted by Dallas. Of course, I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys, which means Arizona would lose 4 in a row, which put a big damper on their status, I think, as one of the elite teams. Dallas at home. I'll take them.
Arizona has not lost on the road this year.
Is that right?
They're 7-0 in away games. I just think both of these. Look, this might be the toughest one to pick this week. Arizona can't. The argument would be Arizona cannot be as bad as they've recently looked. And is Dallas as good as they've recently looked? This is a tough one. Part of me wants to take Arizona in thinking, all right, this is going to be their game where they come back. But that Dallas defense, I don't care who they're playing, they look They look good, and I think there's something. I think Arizona is just heading in the wrong direction right now. I'm going to take Dallas.
Unfortunately, I have to concur.
Nice. All right.
All right.
Yeah, listen, Arizona's looked so great at times and not so much at other times. Part of being a great team, though, I guess, is consistency over the long
This
haul.
is going to be close. And look, if Dallas has any sort of turnovers, this could change this game.
Sure.
Yep.
I don't think Dallas runs away with this. They're certainly not scoring 56 points again this week.
Well, the coin likes Arizona.
There you go.
So there we go. All right, KC being hosted by Cincinnati. Who is this more of a test for?
I think it's a test for.
They're-
I think it's a test for both teams. Yeah, I think it's more of a test for Cincinnati. Can they have another? Can they put 2 games back to back where they're playing up to their full potential? I think the Chiefs are just.
I think it's going to be a good game.
I think it is going to be a good game.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs win though.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game, but the ball that the Chiefs have been playing, and look at what they did in the game this week, and Travis Kelce wasn't playing.
Yeah, he's coming back, too.
He's coming back, too. So, Chiefs win the game.
I'm taking Cincinnati.
All right.
Why not?
Why the hell not?
I got a 1-game lead, and I got to squander. Coin likes the home team.
Cincy.
So that means that means
you're with the coin.
Going to lose. I don't think me and the coin going against you two have won even once this year. Stupid coin. I'm pretty sure there's 3 or 4 instances where me and the coin went one way and you two went the other way, and I lost every one.
You lost, man.
Except for maybe Indy a couple of weeks ago, I think.
There you go.
Might have won. So. All right, Miami at Tennessee. Miami's won how many? 7 in a row?
7 in a row.
Well, but a roll always comes to an end.
This is true.
I'm going to take Tennessee. They just find ways to win, and they're doing it without Derrick Henry, which I think makes them a better team, but not a better team. In other words, they have to do more. They have to spread their wings, and I think that gives them an opportunity to find new and different ways to move the ball. And they got a good defense, and they're home.
Mm-hmm. A lot of factors there.
Yeah, and fuck Miami.
Well, look. Other than the Ravens, in this winning streak, the Dolphins have beat the Texans, the Jets, the Giants, the Panthers, the Jets again, and the Saints. There's something about this Dolphins team that is just interesting to me. But there's just Tennessee, like you said, they just find ways to win this game. And I think at home, I think I got to go with the Titans. I want to take the Dolphins, but I just think the Titans are going to win this game.
All right.
I've been all along. I've been half tempted to take the Dolphins.
It's a great story if the Dolphins win, right? Every week they win in a row is a great story.
I think the Dolphins are a good team. I can't articulate how the Titans are where they're at. I just can't. But they're a good team, and they don't let you score that much. And the Dolphins sort of have to score a bunch of points to win. I think Tennessee controls the game and keeps the ball out of Tua's hands, and they win in a close one. It's going to be close.
I'm like, I got to go with Tennessee. I really, really wanted to take the Dolphins here, but I got to go with Tennessee.
Yeah, chicken.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if the coin's got some stones. Heads, Tennessee. Finally, the coin gets one right. And then...
Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Cleveland hosted by Pittsburgh. 2 disappointing teams. Why did we pick this game? Oh, because whoever loses is definitely out of the playoff.
Whoever loses is out, yeah.
Well, oh boy. I hate Pittsburgh so much. I think I picked them last week or the week before.
Yep.
And they lost.
You picked them last week and they lost, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll take Cleveland.
Steelers get the win.
Ooh.
This one is just every time I put any faith in the Steelers, they just blow it. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm gonna go with the Browns.
I think it's an excellent choice.
All right.
And
That's it.
heads. So Johnny and the coin.
Jeez.
Johnny and the Coin. Isn't that a
It's an Elton
Life-
John song, right?
that's a USA Network?
I think they were crooners back in the 50s,
That's
right?
right.
Johnny and the
Coins?
Coin, yeah.
Well, let's see. You had the Four Coins, right? That was an actual group.
That was one, yeah.
And there's probably half a dozen doo-wop groups that would have Johnny at the lead.
Sure. Johnny and the Coin.
Johnny and the Coin.
Johnny and the Coin.
They were very big in the Pittsburgh area.
They were.
So,
They
so
were.
it's apropos that you should be choosing the Steelers this week. Oh, actually,
right.
yeah. That, you know what? That would be because Pittsburgh's one of the places where they have the mint, right?
Yep.
Pittsburgh and Denver are the two big mint cities. So, so Johnny and the Coin would make sense.
Johnny and the
That's
Coin.
right.
There you go. I'll
See?
take a ride up to Pittsburgh and
it would be the most recent TV show filmed in Pittsburgh since The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh, which I think was probably not even filmed in Pittsburgh.
All right. So the Coin's going out on a limb on 3 games. We're split 2-2 on 2 games, and we all like Tennessee. So we'll probably have some movement. We'll definitely have some movement this week.
We'll have something
And it's coming down to the wire.
coming down to the wire.
We got this week and next week, and then
This week and
well, we
next
do the
week.
playoffs.
We
too,
do the
so-
playoffs, yeah. But,
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's going to have an insurmountable lead heading into the playoffs.
Pete, I just want to let you know, since you brought him up a few weeks back, maybe a few months back, Isaiah Thomas has signed a 10-day contract with the Dallas Mavericks.
Excellent,
Interesting.
excellent, good for him.
Good for him. All right. Does that bring
we're
us to...
segueing to NBA.
No.
We
got a
got to
top 10
do our
list.
top 10 list.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Top 10 players named Isaiah.
Top 10 players name Isaiah Thomas. There you go.
There probably are 10, yeah.
Listen, we could almost do a top 10 George Foreman's.
We could. And just in
Right?
his own family.
Yeah, him and he's got four sons. All
4
named George.
sons. 5.
Yeah. 5.
5, yeah. 5 sons.
All right, we'll do a top 6 George Foreman's.
All right. We'll do our top 10 list right now. Our top 10 list this week is top 10 Kansas City Chiefs of all time. Top 10 Kansas City Chiefs of all time, if you cannot tell from the garb I'm wearing. And tonight, 2 weeks in a row, we have just 10. Look at that. So
A couple guys that didn't make the cut.
we had, last week we actually had 10 because we all voted for the same 10. This week we had 13 votes, but only 10 made the cut. No ties. So there you go. All right, so we're going to kick it off with number 10. Number 10 is going to be Willie Lanier. Willie Lanier, linebacker out of Morgan State, drafted in the second round in 1967, played his entire career, 11 years with the Kansas City Chiefs, 67 to 77. He's a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 4, 6-time Pro Bowler, 8-time All-Pro, NFL Man of the Year in 1972, 2-time AFL All-Star, 2-time All-AFL. Member of the 75th anniversary team, member of the 100th anniversary team. He's in the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame, and his number 63 is retired with the Kansas City Chiefs as well. And he's in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Willie Lanier, number 10. All right. Brings us to number 9. Number 9 is going to be Emmett Thomas. There you go. Emmett Earl Thomas, to be exact. And Willie Lanier, by the way, his middle name was Edward, if you were curious. Willie Edward Lanier. So, Emmett Earl Thomas, cornerback out of Bishop, undrafted in 1966. Member of the Kansas City Chiefs for 13 seasons, from 66 to 78. He also coached around the NFL as well, from the Redskins, the Eagles, the Packers, the Vikings, the Falcons, and then back to the Chiefs. He was interim head coach of the Falcons too for part of a year. 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, NFL interceptions leader in 74, AFL interceptions leader in 69, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 1 time with the Chiefs, and twice as a coach with the Redskins. 2-time AFL champion as well. He's in the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame. His number 18 with the Chiefs is retired as well, and he's in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 9, Emmett Thomas.
I think he's at 11th or 12th all-time interceptions in NFL history, which is pretty darn good.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. All right. That brings us to number 8. Number 8 is going to be actually somebody who's still playing, and that would be Mr. Travis Kelce. Travis Michael Kelce, to be exact. Tight end out of Cincinnati, drafted in the 3rd round of the 2013 draft. He's played the last 8 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a Super Bowl champion, obviously, from a couple seasons ago. 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, and NFL 2010's All-Decade Team. And he was first-team All-Big East, too, in 2012 in college. Anyway, he's got some NFL records already, and he's still playing. Most 1,000-yard receiving seasons by a tight end, he's got 6. Most consecutive 1,000 receiving seasons by a tight end, 6. Most receiving yards in a season by a tight end, 1,416. And most 100 reception seasons by a tight end, he's got 2. So there you go. Travis Kelce. Travis Michael Kelce, number 8 on our list tonight. That brings us to... That's pretty good. Pretty good numbers. And something tells me over the course of time, as he continues to play, he will move up on this list maybe a little bit.
He's like, 31 years old, something like that. So he
is 30, just turned 32.
There you go. So he's got a few years left.
He's going to pass. He's going to be in the top 5.
He'll be in that. It brings us to number 7. Mr. 7. Tonight's Mr. 7, I'm wearing his jersey, is Mr. Patrick Mahomes.
Mr.
7. Patrick Levon Mahomes II. Not junior, the second. A quarterback out of Texas Tech, drafted in the 1st round of the 2017 draft by the Kansas City Chiefs. Just finished playing his 5th season with the Chiefs. Super Bowl champion from Super Bowl 54. He was Super Bowl MVP as well of that Super Bowl. NFL Most Valuable Player in 2018. Offensive Player of the Year in 2018. First Team All-Pro in 2018. Second Team All-Pro last year. 4-time Pro Bowler. NFL Passing Touchdowns Leader in 2018. Sportsman of the Year in 2020. Burt Bell Award in 2018. And he's got an NFL record as well already. Career quarterback rating, minimum 1,500 attempts. It's a 106.3. So there you go. Patrick Levon Mahomes II. And for those of you Met fans out there following along, you'll remember his father was a member of the Mets pitching staff as well. So there you go. Number 7. Mr. 7 tonight, Patrick Mahomes. Brings us to number 6. Number 6 is Buck Buchanan. Junius Buck Buchanan. Buck with quotes around it. He was not named Buck. It was his nickname. Defensive tackle out of Grambling. Drafted in the 1st round of the 1963 AFL draft. He was also drafted in the 19th round of the 63 NFL draft. He opted to go to the AFL and to the Kansas City Chiefs. And he played for 13 seasons with the Chiefs, 63 to 75. Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 4, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 2-time Pro Bowler, member of the 100th anniversary team, 2-time AFL champion, a 6-time AFL All-Star, 6-time first-team AFL, and he's a member of the AFL All-Time Team. He's a member of the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame. His number 86 is retired by the Chiefs, and he's in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Junius Buck Buchanan, tonight's number 6. Brings us to number 5. Number 5 is going to be Bobby Bell. Bobby Lee Bell Sr. He's a linebacker and a defensive end out of Minnesota, drafted in the 1963 draft, the 7th round, pick 56 overall. By the Kansas City Chiefs, he played 12 seasons for the Kansas City Chiefs, 63 to 74. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 4, Defensive Player of the Year in 69, First Team All-Pro in 70, Second Team All-Pro in 71, 3-time Pro Bowler. Remember the 70s All-Decade team, the 100th anniversary team, 2-time AFL champion as well, 6-time AFL All-Star, 5-time First Team All-AFL, 1-time Second Team All-AFL. Remember the AFL All-Time team. He is in the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame. His number 78 is retired by the Chiefs. And he is, again, also in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Number 5, Bobby Bell.
Yeah, Bell, 26 career interceptions. 6 of them he took into the end zone.
There you go.
Which is obviously the Chiefs franchise. I mean, you can imagine guys who may, be happy to get one
Sure.
pick 6, And this was a guy who was a defensive end to start his career.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But so 26 interceptions, nothing to sneeze at, and taking them 6 of them to the house is
Exactly.
pretty damn impressive.
Not at all. That's pretty good. Bobby Lee Bell Sr., number 5. All right. Brings us to number 4 in the top 4 here. Number 4 is going to be Will Shields. Will, it wouldn't be a top 10 list for the Get On With It guys here without an offensive lineman in it. So, guard out of Nebraska, drafted in the 3rd round of the 1993 draft, pick 74 overall. He played for 14 seasons for the Chiefs, 93 through 2006. 3-time First Team All-Pro, 4-time Second Team All-Pro, 12-time Pro Bowler, Walter Payton Man of the Year in 03. 12-time Pro Bowler, 12-time. An offensive lineman, a guard, 12-time Pro Bowler, absolutely. NFL 2000s All-Decade team, member of the Chiefs Hall of Fame. And, of course, he is also in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Number 4 tonight, Will Shields.
Only one other.
Will Herthy Shields.
There's only one other offensive lineman who's been to more Pro Bowls, and that's Bruce Matthews, who went to 14. So Shields is number 2 with 12.
There you go. All right, that brings us to number 3. Number 3 on our list tonight is Lenny Dawson. Leonard Ray Dawson, to be exact, quarterback out of Purdue, drafted in the 1st round, pick 5 overall in 1956 draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers, because the Kansas City Chiefs didn't exist then. And he played 3 years for the Steelers, a couple of seasons for the Browns, and then he wound up on the Dallas Texans, which you all know became the Kansas City Chiefs. They moved from Dallas to Kansas City, became the Chiefs. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 4. He was the MVP of that Super Bowl as well. NFL Man of the Year in 1973. Made the Pro Bowl in 71. 3-time AFL champion. AFL MVP in 62. 2-time First Team All-AFL. 2-time Second Team All-AFL. 6-time AFL All-Star. 4-time AFL passing touchdowns leader. 6-time AFL passer ratings leader. He's in the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame, and his number 16 is retired, and he is in Canton as well in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 3, Lenny Dawson. Guys?
I think he's better than you think he was, and I thought he was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I think
he Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, his name doesn't always come up as the best. I think we think of him more as a guy who was in the right place at the right time, played on a great team, and obviously he did. But, I mean, he was a Super Bowl champion and a 3-time AFL champion. You can't say that he did not come up big when the games mattered. He did.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons those teams were great was because of Len Dawson.
It was because
Absolutely.
of Len Dawson, sure.
And I think he's still got the franchise record for completions and passing yards.
Well, he
and
had
touchdowns.
He held the single-season passing touchdown record set in 64 with 30 touchdowns in only 14 games. But Patrick Mahomes broke that.
Erased that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, let me see. There's one was this stat that I saw. Between 62 and 69, he threw 182 touchdown passes. Just think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more than any other quarterback did during that 7-year stretch or 8-year stretch. It's crazy. 182, almost 200. I mean, that's a career.
Right.
182 is a career for some guys, and he did it in, less than a decade.
Yep.
I'd also like to point out that, I think along with somebody who a lot of people are talking about now in the form of John Madden. I think Lenny Dawson was really responsible for the rise in media coverage of the NFL and sort of a rebirth of the NFL in the 80s and into the 90s with when he hosted Inside the NFL. There was not another show like this at the time.
Yeah, him and Nick Bonicani. They were,
and it was a weekly show, but I think people take it for granted that we have all of these shows that are constantly interface talking about the NFL. This show was really, really well done. And much like it sort of took that inside baseball and took it to the next level. It was the production quality was really good. The entertainment value of it was really good. But they did a really good job of showing you some things that most common casual NFL fans never saw. And they balance kind of that detail of really breaking down the games with, I think, raising the profile of a lot of the stars of the game of that era. And Inside the NFL had a big part in sort of, I think, bringing the NFL to where it's at today in popularity.
It definitely had a big part in it. Yeah, that was if you were an NFL fan back then, it was a not miss TV.
And he had to do it by putting up with Chris Collinsworth.
That was later on, though.
Yeah, but still.
But
when they first started, it was just him and Nick Bonicani.
Well, Chris Collinsworth was their on-air reporter.
Yeah,
right in like '89.
Later on, when he retired. Yeah, when they started in the early '80s, it was just the two of them.
But they did a great job of like breaking down the game, like getting to the edge of the field without getting too much in the weeds to where people were going, oh, that's how that works, without really getting confused.
And much like Madden, they started to show video highlights of blocking and defensive plays and things that happen literally in the trenches of football that were never really shown in that sort of frequency before. Yeah. Yes, it was weekly, but that was a lot for back then.
Yeah.
And it was kind of must-watch television for anybody who was a football fan.
It was.
And even on that show, I can only speak for me, but Bonicani sort of had the higher profile. Right?
Absolutely.
He was on the Dolphins, the 72 Dolphins, the undefeated team. Dawson, he was pretty good, I guess.
And he was Lennon Dawson was a good broadcaster.
He was.
Yeah. He was.
A lot of people only know him as a broadcaster. He's one. I would put him in the top 10 football players who are not a household name necessarily, but certainly should be.
Right. Yeah. Right. Fair enough. Number 3 on the list, Lenny Dawson. Leonard Ray
imagine
Dawson.
what number 2 and number 1 are like.
Well, 2 and number 1 are pretty.
Lenny Dawson is number 3.
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right. Moving on to number 2 is going to be a gentleman who, unfortunately, should have played many more years than he did. Would be Mr. Derek Thomas. Derek Vincent Thomas. DT. Outside linebacker and defensive end out of Alabama, drafted in the first round, pick 4 overall in the 1989 draft. Played 11 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs and is Defensive Rookie of the Year in 89, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler he was. 2-time forced fumbles leader, NFL sacks leader in 1990, NFL Man of the Year in 1993. Not sure exactly what that is, but we'll skip that. 1990s All-Decade Team. He's in the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame. His number 58 is retired. He has an NFL record 7 sacks in a game. And he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio as well. Unfortunately, his career and life were cut short from the fallout of a horrible traffic accident. But there he is. Number 2 on our list tonight, Derek Vincent Thomas, DT, number 2. Anything about Derek you want to mention?
I mean, him and whoever, I think we all know is going to be number 1. I think they're interchangeable in a lot of ways.
Right.
I think most people think he's the second best linebacker, and I think some people would argue maybe the second best defensive player to ever play in the NFL. He was that good. And he was a little bit in LT's shadow because they played at the same time. But 9-time Pro Bowler in 10 years that he played?
Yeah, 11 seasons he played.
11 seasons. He was pretty incredible. He was he was one of those guys, much like LT, who he not only changed the games with the number of sacks and things of that nature, but he kind of started this trend of defensive players being much more aggressive in forcing turnovers. He was great at forcing people to turn the ball over and getting that ball out of people's hands. And arguably maybe quicker than LT overall. He was an incredible athlete. You don't see people like Derek Thomas very often.
No, you don't. And that was just a horrible shame that
obviously.
Couple of quick numbers, Harry, what you just said. 41 forced fumbles.
Yeah.
41.
19 recoveries. Don't know how many of those were actually ones that he caused, but and 126 and a half career sacks in 169 games. The guy, I think, still right ahead of him is Ricky Jackson,
right,
at 128, 227 games. Took him almost 60 more games, and Jackson had just the one sack. So, unfortunately, as we said, what would Derek Thomas have done if he played?
And I think
another handful of years.
He was kind of a quiet-ish guy. He played in Kansas City at a time when Kansas City was really not in the national spotlight as much as they were previously and certainly are today.
Right.
I think he kind of went under the radar a little bit, but even with that working against him, I think everybody knew, even casual football fans, that this guy was something special. And he was certainly one of those guys in that era who changed football. I think he and Lawrence Taylor's influence on football is still seen today, and it's maybe waning a little bit because there's not as many players who are as good. But the linebacker position has forever been changed due to those guys.
Sure. All right, number 2, Mr. Derek Thomas. And that brings us to number 1. Number 1, of course, is Mr.
Jan Stenerud. Oh, sorry,
Jan Stenerud.
That's right.
Anthony Davis Gonzalez, Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, systems tight end.
There you go. Right. He tight end out of California, drafted in the first round, picked 13 overall in the 1997 draft. Played for the Kansas City Chiefs for 12 seasons, 97 through 08, and then went and played in Atlanta for 5 years, 09 to 2013. 6-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time second-team All-Pro, 14-time Pro Bowler. 14 times. NFL receptions leader in 04. It's tight end, by the way. NFL receptions leader in 04. NFL 2000s All-Decade Team. A member of the 100th anniversary all-time team. He's in the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame, and he, of course, is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Mr. Tony Gonzalez, number 1 on our list.
Yeah, 15,127 receiving yards, 111 receiving touchdowns.
111 receiving touchdowns.
1,325 receptions.
Some quarterbacks don't have 111 touchdowns thrown for a career. Not good ones.
Never played in a playoff game.
No,
that's unbelievable.
It is.
Never played in the postseason.
And the one thing that made me sort of question him versus Derek Thomas is the fact that he didn't play his whole career with Atlanta. He did leave and go to the Falcons. He was obviously still great on the Falcons, but I think a lot of people would say he's the best tight end of all time. And for that reason, I put him number 1. But he was something else. And look, he was really good for a really long time. And it looks like he could still play.
It actually does look like he'd still play.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of those guys. When he retired, I was like, he's kind of.
He's only a year older than Brady, right?
He probably had maybe a year or so left in him. And I thought maybe he'd be one of those guys who takes a year off and comes back, but he didn't. And I think he knew things were over. But never sort of missed that Atlanta team. Yeah, the fact that he just did not have any sort of play. A lot of these guys were with Kansas City when they were in a drought getting into the playoffs.
Sure. Yeah.
You look at Will Shields. You look at even Derek Thomas. Not a lot of playoff games for the Chiefs back in those days.
No.
Yeah.
Number one.
Gonzalez, 10 Pro Bowls and first or second team All-Pro 9 times.
Yeah,
And that was before he went to Atlanta.
right.
Yeah, before.
Again,
Well,
that's
just in Kansas City.
That's a career for some guys.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
just that first stint in Kansas City. So.
Yeah. So he spent 12 years in Kansas City. So
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you could argue maybe Antonio Gates. There's other people, but I mean, I think he was something that he's one of the best, if not the best, at his position in the history of football.
Yep. Agreed. Number one on our list
Maybe
tonight.
Bavaro's a little better.
There you go. Or Jeff Rutledge.
John
Rutledge
Mackey.
was a heck of a tight end.
John Mackey.
John
Pop
Mackey.
Warner. Yeah, Mackey was pretty good.
Yeah.
Didn't Sam Huff play tight end?
Sam Huff played every
Yes,
no,
only for 2 games.
and Sonny Jurgensen played every
For those 2 games, he was the greatest tight end who ever played.
That's right.
So I'm still cutting him.
Dave
Number
Casper.
one tonight, Tony Gonzalez. All right. That brings us to Old Balls.
Old balls.
Harry, tell us who this week's Old Balls recipient is.
Well, this week's recipient of the coveted Old Balls designation is none other than Mr. Christian Okoye. You know, this Kansas City team, they had a lot of really great kind of bruising running backs in the history, but Okoye was always really interesting to me. He, Nigerian born, did not play football until he was 23 years old. He didn't come to the United States until he was 21.
Mm.
He played at Azusa Pacific University and actually won 7 college titles in shot put, discus, and hammer throw in track and field. The first time he attended an American football game, he thought the game was boring. And the first time he played, which, you know, he didn't like the roughness. Now, for people who don't know Christian Okoye, 6'1", 270 pounds. Okay. I think he was probably even bigger than that. He looked like an offensive lineman who had 4.45 40-yard dash speed. I mean, he was an unbelievable physical specimen. He would make Derrick Henry look small. I'm not kidding. His career was cut a little bit short by injuries. When I say he was a bruising runner, there was no left and right. There was it was literally right up the gut, and he's going to take 7 guys with him. You know, he averaged almost 4 yards a carry, had 40 rushing touchdowns and just under 5,000 rushing yards in 6 years with the Chiefs?
6 years, yeah.
Yeah.
6, yep.
2-time Pro Bowler in 89 and 91, NFL rushing yards leader in 1989. And, you know, this is a team who for many years had people like Priest Holmes and Larry Johnson, these sort of bruising running backs that he played. You know, he played. I'm guessing right around the time. You know, wasn't Will Shields blocking for him for a good portion of this?
Yeah.
So, you know, he was kind of an interesting story. You know, in the fact that I can't think of anybody who came to the sport that late in life. I mean, imagine some guys' careers are over by the time they're 23.
Right.
He didn't even get into the NFL, I believe, until he was 25 or 26. It's incredible.
26 years old when he joined the NFL.
Yeah, and at the time, watching him play, it was just like, wow. I'm not sure how you tackle this guy.
The Nigerian Nightmare.
The Nigerian Nightmare. And yeah, of course, it was bruising and it took his toll on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I always found his story really interesting. And to me, I think had he been able to play even 2 or 3 more years, I think he would probably be a little bit well known. But for those few years when he was at the top of his game, it was unbelievable to watch him play. You know, he was that good of a player. And I think the year that he led the league in rushing, I'm trying to 1,480 yards and 16 touchdowns, or in 16 games.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of yards for a guy who whose longest run was probably 20 yards.
Right.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, maybe the most. I think he was maybe the most bruising running back since Jim Brown.
You can say that.
I mean,
Fair
he was unbelievable. Anyway,
Yeah.
this year's recipient,
Weeks.
none other than Mr. Christian Okoye.
There you go. This week's Old Balls.
Old balls.
All right. There you go, and there you have it. Do you have any NFL stuff, Mr. Pete? Any more anomalies?
No, I don't think so.
No?
Good.
Nothing on that front?
I'm trying to think what.
I thought you
no.
said you did, but you don't have
Did
to.
I? Oh no, I think it was just my questions about the divisions and
Oh, right. I got you.
and the Falcons. I think that was. Let me
Gotcha.
see if there's anything else that I saw. No, that was it.
Good. There you go.
Oh yeah, Sam Darnold starting against the Saints.
Sam Darnold starting against the Saints. There you go.
Yeah.
There you
good
go.
for him.
Well, didn't he split time with Cam Newton last week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They both played, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
but-
been named the starter.
He's
All
been
right, so
named the starter.
you know what? Here's a quick question: who has a better day, Jimmy Garoppolo, Sam Darnold, or Drew Lock?
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right.
And there you go. All right. All right. Well, I do have one thing. We can do that afterwards. You want any NBA talk you want to do?
You know, let's save it. The NBA is really fascinating right now because they are just getting destroyed with COVID cases.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they are.
it's so hard. How about the Knicks beating the
Knicks 2-game winning streak.
Golden State? Yeah, and they won
2-game
again tonight against Detroit. Yeah, I don't know. I will say one thing about the NBA right now, and Nikola Jokic is carrying this Nuggets team, but the other guy who's carrying his team and has an even better record, somebody better start talking about Joel Embiid for MVP. I mean, the Sixers are having a pretty damn good year considering the turmoil that they're having, and I can't believe that they're as you know, yeah, they're 18 and 16, but he's having a hell of a year.
He is. He definitely is. 3-game win streak for the Knicks though, which is
they won on Christmas Day for the first time since Bernard King played.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. And one thing about the game yesterday though, yesterday or Monday, what you call all the starters other than Mitchell Robinson, all the starters went 16 for 55.
Yeah, when the Knicks go cold, They're not the best shooting team. They got to get in the paint.
They're winning games off the bench.
Yeah,
and they've been doing that for most of the games they've won this year so far. So,
that was also one of their strengths last year was that their bench was generally better than a lot of other teams' bench.
Right.
Well, their strength last year was the fact that over the course of the game, they played better defense than most other teams. Yeah. The Knicks beating the Pistons 94-85 is a Knicks type of win.
Yep.
And that's how they have to win games. They're not going to win when 100 when they get into the 115 to 120 range. They're not going to win.
Right.
They're just not going to win.
Yep.
The fact that they held the Warriors, yes, to whatever it was the other night, that's a good sign.
It is.
All right, let me throw a couple questions at you.
Throw a couple. Go.
Okay, so who's the best team in the NBA? Is it Golden State? Is it the Nets? Is it Phoenix? Is it Utah?
I'm going to say that
is the Bucks?
I think I give a slight edge right now only to Golden State, only because Steph Curry is just having maybe his best year of his career. I think that 1 and 1A are Golden State and Phoenix. I'm going to put the Nets slightly ahead of the Jazz, but the Jazz are right there with them. And then I'm going to put Milwaukee, even though Chicago has a slightly better record. I still think Milwaukee's a better team. And Milwaukee's played a lot of games this year with people being out of the lineup, and Giannis was out for an extended period of time. The fact that Milwaukee started pretty poorly and is 23-13 and has gone 7-3 in their last 10 games is something else. But let me tell you something. We said this in the beginning of the year. The GM of the Chicago Bulls, hats off.
Yeah,
they are the most improved team in the NBA. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 4 in a row, and they are a tough team to beat.
Yep.
So
well, that was going to be my next question: is how are they for real? How long do they hang around?
I think the Bulls are
Chicago
for real.
Can't be this good, right?
I'll tell you the two teams that are for real, and I don't and I think they're both to be commended. The Bulls and the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are a good team, and they've gotten a lot better. They've played a lot of games without Ja Morant, and they've won without him. They are a deep team, and they've got some. They've got some talent on that team. Desmond Bane, Morant. The Grizzlies are a good team, and they play good team defense, and they've beaten some good teams this year.
I would have to agree with you. The Grizzlies and the Bulls are probably the two most improved, if you will. But Heat's playing, from last year.
Yeah,
they're playing the ball.
The Heat had a down year. The Heat made some good acquisitions too. The teams that made the acquisitions in the offseason, the two biggest, I think, acquisitions were the Heat and the Bulls, and it's paying off. Sure.
But all right.
It's going to be hard for the Knicks to stay in a playoff spot.
Yeah. It's gonna. I'm actually 3 games in a row. I'm at the way they've been playing for the last month. I'm actually shocked that they won 3 in a row, and one of them was the other day. But
the one thing that people are not talking about with Golden State and with Phoenix to some degree, both those teams play really good team defense. And they're going to have to go through each other, and it's going to be tough. And Utah, if Phoenix and Golden State have to play each other before either of them get to Utah by some chance, that's going to be a tough series.
Probably. Any other questions, Pete?
No, I think that was it.
All right.
Yeah, and Golden State doesn't have Klay Thompson back yet, right?
Not yet. That's really going to be the interesting thing.
That could be the scary thing.
How does that? Well, maybe not. They've Golden State's always done a really good job of bringing up some young players. They have some really good young players who are fitting in with some of their veterans. It's going to be interesting to see how Klay Thompson works into the rotation, and does it cause a temporary hiccup to their chemistry? We'll see.
Yeah. It would be temporary, though. I mean, the big 3 on that team, post Durant, have played together before. So, although not a lot because Thompson's been hurt the last 2 years, but but I mean, what a nice luxury for that team that you get Klay Thompson back and you get to work him in if you want to slowly, right? It's not like, oh my God, we really need Klay Thompson to get back in there.
It sounds like a good problem to have.
Yeah, it sounds like a great problem. Go play, 20 minutes, get yourself back in there a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, another team who you got to give some props to for being 18-17 right now with what they're dealing with are the Clippers. Clippers went into Boston tonight. I think they played in Boston. Beat the Celtics by 9. No Kawhi. No Paul George. Paul George is supposed to be back today. I guess he wasn't.
They played in Boston, yes.
This Clippers team playing some good defense this last couple weeks. If they could get, I don't know if Kawhi is going to be back at all this year, but if Paul George can come back, I don't want to play the Clippers in the first round of the playoffs. And the real question is, do the Lakers make the playoffs?
Lakers are almost. What happened? Davis back in, or he's out now, right?
He's out still. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the story, right? This is the story of the Lakers. Anthony Davis gets hurt, and they're not as good. And even if they make the playoffs, they're not going to.
Lakers are 1 game under 500 right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I mean, LeBron just doesn't.
No.
He's still great, but he can't carry teams the way he used to.
No. If you were to tell me at the beginning of the season that even with Anthony Davis hurt, that a team that has LeBron James and Russell Westbrook would be 17-18, It'd be hard. It's hard to figure it out. The West is tough.
Yep.
The West is tough, and I'll tell you, Mike Malone has to have some consideration at this point in the season for Coach of the Year too, because the fact that the Nuggets are 17-16, they went for a stretch there with nobody.
Yep.
This is a team that's 3 of their top 4 players are out.
Right.
And Jokic is he's unbelievable. And I'll throw props out to Will Barton. He's stepped it up and he's having a hell of a stretch here. But that's about it for basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, one quick question. I just heard this the other day. Somebody was talking about the Nets and Kyrie coming back, and of course he can't play. If things stay the same and he can't play the home games, but he can play the away games. Do the Nets tank so that they have to play an away series so Kyrie can play 4 of the 7 games?
No.
I don't think they do. But it was an interesting,
an
interesting question.
That's pretty funny.
You know that I don't. The
Not
Nets
tank, but lose enough down the stretch, so
right?
That they don't have that.
Was Durant out because of COVID or injury or rest or? The Nets won the other day. Harden just went off. They had nobody else.
It was COVID, wasn't it? It was on the COVID list.
Was it?
I think it was COVID.
List?
Yeah, it was COVID list. Yeah. So, all right, we'll talk more about basketball as we get more into the season, and out of football, if you will, as we get into the playoffs and get a little bit more into that NBA and NHL time of year.
By the time we get like 60 games into the season,
by the time we get, by the time there's like 12 games left in the season, then we'll be really into the NBA.
Yeah,
they're like that. And just a quick thing on the NHL, which we call it. Yeah, teams are playing hockey. They've been hurt by COVID too. They've been a lot of games. They postponed games. Rangers actually are playing tonight, first time in 12 days. They played on the 17th was the last time they played, and they're playing tonight. So it's
And I think they didn't. Canada said no cross border games.
No cross border games. No cross border games for that. And then the Islanders game was for last night or tonight was postponed again. So they've been hit hard too. So.
And what a surprise! Tampa Bay and Vegas are the 2 hottest teams in the NHL.
And there you go.
Seems like that's. I mean, look, you got to give props to Tampa Bay as an organization. They've been
sure.
Yeah.
And look who's right behind them again. Always a bridesmaid, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Boy, wouldn't it be nice for them to win a championship?
But you look at the Eastern Metropolitan Division. Carolina and Washington are tied for the top at 43 points, and
the Capitals are right there, 45 points now.
45 points.
Yeah.
I'm looking at. I didn't refresh this yet. So.
Yeah, Caps won. So,
45 points. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty close there. I mean, the
Carolina's 43, and then I'm just getting down to the Rangers at 42, and Rangers at 42 with the Maple Leafs and Florida at this point too. So
Devils and Islanders have to be the 2 most. I mean, Islanders especially probably the most disappointing season so far in the NHL.
Yeah, that's got to be like the biggest fall from grace in the NHL this season, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Islanders have less points than the Kraken.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I finally get to, being a Devils fan, I finally get to lord it over the Islander fans.
There you go.
I'm a fan of both. The Devils
for a couple days.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Do you want to say anything? No, not to prolong things. I know. I want to get out of here too. Sick of you guys. John Madden?
Well, yeah, I was going to bring that up. I want to do one thing. I want to do one thing first, and then we'll talk about Madden for a second, and we'll go. A few weeks ago we did favorite logo, and we did New York. Of course, there's 9 logos in New York.
Okay.
I figured before the year was out, obviously today would be the time to do it. We'll do the other. We'll flip it to the other city in this podcast technically, and that would be Denver. So I'll throw the logos up on the screen, and here's your Denver logos. What's your favorite of those? We'll go with Pete first, because Harry might have a preference, obviously, living in the city. So we got the Broncos, you got the Rockies, you got the Nuggets, and you got the Avalanche.
Well, Rockies is kind of boring.
Okay, yeah, well, sure.
I mean, interlocking letters are always kind of boring.
Right.
The Avalanche is nice, but, I mean, Avalanche is... it's so mean. people lose their houses in avalanches, so it's
Yeah,
not a very nice.
Fuck teams named after natural disasters.
Hurricanes, avalanche.
The Nuggets looks like a video game or like a Boy Scout badge.
Yeah, but the old school Nuggets logos,
The old Nuggets.
Yeah, I think if you
we could do it
the old Broncos.
We could do
yeah,
the old
I was
Broncos.
gonna say if you put the logo from like whatever, like
all old
5
school
years
logos kick ass on all new school logos. Period. We can
and the Nuggets,
we can all
the
agree
Nuggets
on
sometimes
that.
wear the old school.
Right.
Out of this group, I'd have to take the Broncos.
Right. Harry.
I hate all of them in the new ones, but the old school Nuggets with the city in front of the mountains, or the Nuggets with the peak behind it, and where it says Denver Nuggets.
Yep.
Those are great logos.
Those are great logos, but
and some of those are still current. The peak with the Denver Nuggets, and then the old school miner guy jumping through the air with the ABA ball in his hand. Yeah,
yeah, right.
I'll take all of those. So I'm going to go old school Nuggets and old school Broncos. This new Broncos looks too much like this weird, creepy sculpture that's out at the airport. I'm going to go old school Nuggets, old school Broncos. There are no old school Avalanche and old school Rockies,
Obviously.
but yeah.
If you had to pick one of these four, which would it be? If you had to pick one of these four.
Just because I'm going to piss off everybody in Denver, I'm going to go with the Nuggets because there's just not enough Nuggets fans. Everybody loves but the Broncos, the horse inside the D, blowing the smoke out. Yeah. But I'm still going to go with the Nuggets.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. There you go.
Yeah. With Dan Issel's sweat on it.
All right. And and then before we go, we'd be remiss if we didn't say rest in peace to Mr. John Madden. 85 years old yesterday, passed away unexpectedly, and just a shame. But a cornerstone of the NFL when it came to a lot of things, especially broadcasting, was just, I mean, everybody can talk about, the video games that everybody plays now. Obviously, Madden. You say Madden, 90% of anybody that's younger automatically goes to a football video game, right? But he, along with Pat Summerall, I'm sorry, as far as I'm concerned, were the best tandem, the best duo for calling a football game in NFL history.
Yeah,
and nothing beats John Madden's take on. I mean, him being an analyst during those games and his telestrator, antics, if you will, just. Nothing beat that. And Pat Summerall's straight man calling the games, and then the two of them playing off each other, that was the best. But John Madden was a big part of that. And an awesome coach, too. I mean,
great coach.
Al Davis hired him as the head coach of the Raiders when Madden was 32 years old. Al Davis brought him in to coach the Raiders. It kept them relevant throughout the 70s. I mean, they were just a powerhouse. They were there. They were in it every year, and of course they won it. They beat the Vikings in the Super Bowl 11. It was right, 11.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of the Raiders, even nowadays, and you think of the face of the Raiders, I think of Al Davis and John Madden.
Sure.
That's saying a lot. I don't really know of any other sports franchise where you think of the owner and the coach as the face of the sort of the most iconic members of a franchise, and I think a lot of people feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's probably a few coaches.
Yeah.
I mean Lombardi and that you sort of associate first and foremost or close to with a team. But
sure,
yeah, but listen, Madden was. I know there are people that didn't like his shtick or whatever, but I mean, he was.
He did. I said earlier, he did more to raise the profile of football than than anybody else.
And he educated people about those. We talked about inside the NFL, about the inside aspects of the game.
Well, he understood how to move the broadcast for it. He's the reason why we have a first down marker on the TV screen. He brought that up in a production meeting. The next week they had it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
and is the story true that they invented the telestrator? Because
no,
he said, "I want to draw on the screen."
They had used it before, but he was the first person to use it in a football game on television. And then, of course, he turned it into an Etch-a-Sketch and made it the funniest thing. And nobody uses it anymore, really.
No.
You see it sometimes in the mornings on the sports shows with guys in suits wearing sneakers trying to point things out.
Yeah, sometimes they draw an arrow and
Yeah.
the safety goes this way, but they
Yeah.
never.
Let me tell you something, Dan Orlovsky. You're no John Madden.
There you go. But I would venture to say that he would probably agree with you on that one. But at least you would hope he would.
Maybe the best thing you could say about John Madden, or for me, one of the best things is he, and this gets thrown around a lot, I think, undeservedly, but not in his case. He truly was one of a kind.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't think of anybody in the general public that didn't like or know John Madden, who was, maybe over the age of 35, 40. I mean, there's just everybody knows who he is, even if you don't know what he did.
Right.
Yeah, there might be some players and other coaches that didn't like him, but probably maybe one of the most beloved sports figures, period.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just a shame that, 85, God bless him, but, a few, just an amazing career in football, but in, with the NFL, what he did for it and everything else. And I wanted to bring this one point up too. When I had the pleasure of, visiting Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton a couple years ago. And everything about the Hall of Fame is amazing. There's, from the minute you walk in there, every single thing you're visiting is amazing, and you need somebody like me. I need to get there when they open, and they're kicking me out when they close. That's the problem, But when you get to the hall, all the busts, and you see them all, and it's great. And I saw his and many others and everything else. But towards the end, when I was there anyway, I don't know if they've improved it or expanded upon, I should say, since then. But they had two heads. Two busts separately, and you could download an app, and you hold your phone up to it, and it will actually talk to you.
Oh, yeah, I read about that.
And you can actually ask it a couple of questions or whatever, and it'll actually have a conversation with you, and they developed this. And the first one, the main one they did, was John Madden, right? Pete, you want to take a venture to guess who the second one was? They only did two. At that time, anyway.
When was this?
Two years ago. 2.5 years ago. I'll give you a hint. One of your favorite players from the Giants.
From the Giants.
That's a big list.
New Brockney.
One of your current favorite ex-Giants.
Sam
Hall
Huff?
of Fame. That's it. Current favorite ex-Giants. That's in the
current favorite
ex-Giant in the current spotlight. That's in the Hall of Fame.
Ex-Giant.
I don't know. That's a long
Michael
list.
Strahan.
Oh, Strahan. Okay, yeah.
So, but more on that though. It was actually cool because you sit there and you look like you almost like you're having a conversation with John Madden. It was awesome. But cool. That was kudos to them for doing that. But yeah, just kudos to you, Mr. Madden, for everything you did for the sport, and we thank you very much.
For video games too,
and for video games.
Sure, the curse of Madden.
Here's the real question, though.
Mm.
What does Frank Caliendo do now?
I don't know.
John Madden's passed away. Chucky's out of the league. He's got George Bush still, but that's waning in popularity.
He does everybody now. You should check out his latest videos. He just did a reading of Dr. Seuss where he did like 26 different people reading it off.
Still does a good Pacino too.
Yeah, he does.
He does probably about 50, 60 impersonations that are pretty spot on.
That's pretty wild, yeah.
But Madden's the number one.
Madden's the number one.
Yeah.
Probably not so much anymore. I think it's been a while since that was his go-to bread and butter.
Yeah. Anyway, rest in peace, Mr. Madden, and sorry you've gone. So, anything else? Harry, you want to bring up the show one more time?
Yeah, Log, January 8th. HQ, Denver, Colorado, at Lug Nutz on Instagram. Follow us. You can get your tickets, all the links there, and right ahead of time or DM us for some discounted tickets. Whatever you'd like to do, come out and check us out. January 8th, HQ, Log, at Lug Nutz on Instagram.
We'll have the link up on the Facebook page, on the Get On With It podcast Facebook page. By tomorrow it'll be up, so you can go there and visit any of those and get your tickets for the show.
You got any merch?
Yes, we'll have it at the show.
All right.
Yes.
I need online sales. I can't travel to Denver to buy a T-shirt.
I'll get you some merch. We'll have it. Well, soon enough, we'll have it online.
Sweet.
Perfect. That'll work. All right. On that note, we want to thank everybody for watching the show and spending 2021, our Wednesday nights, your Wednesday nights in 2021 with us. We want to thank you for watching this year and
see you in 2023.
Pre-thank you for watching.
2022
Yeah, we'll take 2022 up. We'll talk to you in a year.
Well, actually, we're going to take each of us is going to take a third of the year off.
I'm all right with that.
But we're going to do it 1 week at a time now.
That's fine.
There you go. But anyway, now we'll pre-thank you for watching next year as well. But for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Anyway, don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of the shows are on YouTube as well on the Locker Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Plus, the show is now available on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful New Year's Eve. Be safe, but enjoy it. Have a very happy, healthy, and safe New Year, and a wonderful weekend. Watch a lot of sports, and we will talk to you soon, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Go Browns.
Happy New Year.